The committee will come to order. The clerk will call the roll. Oh, Parker's here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. As you know, we have a very full agenda today that we're hopeful we'll be able to finish before midnight. We are going to start with the Public Safety Subcommittee report, then we'll do the Resources Subcommittee report, and then we'll do the individual bills that have been referred to us. So first, these public safety.
Thank you, Madam President. Been saying it all afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Kate will go on and commence with the subcommittee report.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'll start with SB 700, patroness Senator to staff. This is a penalty for covering security cameras in correctional facilities. The subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 7-0.
And I so move, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 700 be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator Saslaw. Senator Barker.
Oh,
Ayes 16, no 0.
I-16, no 0. The bill is reported.
The second bill is Senate Bill 310, patroness Senator Eben. This prohibits the manufacture, sale, transfer, or possession of certain firearms that do not display accurately on screening devices and of unfinished frames and receivers, selling those to the public. The subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 6-1.
Madam Chair, I move the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded. That the
Thank you.
bill be reported. All in favor, record your vote. Aye, opposed, no. Okay.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill is reported. Next.
The next bill is Senate Bill 313, Senator Eben. This provides that Virginia's pharmaceutical processors or medical cannabis companies may begin selling cannabis products to adults aged 21 and older beginning January 1st, 2023, which is up to 1 year before other cannabis companies would begin selling retail marijuana products. The subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 4 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention.
Madam Chair, I move that the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 313 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 3, abstentions 2.
Ayes 11, noes 3, abstention 2. The bill's reported.
The next bill is SB 391, patroness Senator Eben. This reenacts provisions of Chapters 550 and 551 of the 2021 Acts of Assembly, which established a legal regulated market for the sale of marijuana, overseen by the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority. This changes provisions of the bill related to licensing structure, associated fees, criminal penalties, local referenda, expungement, and resentencing, including increasing one-time fees from vertically integrated pharmaceutical processors from $1 million to $6 million, with revenues dedicated to some of the equity provisions of that bill. The subcommittee discussed a substitute. I understand the patron has a substitute, and the subcommittee recommends adopting the substitute and reporting by a vote of 4 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention.
So do we have the
We have a
substitute?
substitute. Lisa?
Madam Chair, it's posting online, and I'll forewarn you, it's about 450 pages, so.
Yeah, and I'll say that primarily the substitute, so the original bill had somewhat broader provisions related to expungement. It would change it to true expungement and also expand it to a few penalties. The goal of the substitute is to move that and conform it with the provisions it conflicted with in a different sealing bill introduced by Senator Sturville, which we'll hear later. So that would decrease a lot of fiscal impact and conform it with SB 745 where it conflicted.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
There's a motion on the substitute.
Move to report.
I believe Senator.
Do we need
No,
the substitute?
we
for
need to
motion?
adopt the substitute,
I'm
right?
sorry, I apologize. The second, Senator Lucas's motion to adopt the substitute.
Correct.
Okay, all in favor of adopting the substitute, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The substitute's adopted. Senator Norman, I believe you had a question.
Madam Chairman, I know it's a little impertinent, but has anyone other than Senator Eben read the substitute in the 450 pages? Thank you, ma'am.
I spoke with David May. David May and Charles Quagliato have read the substitute to confirm what I just told you, which is that it largely adjusts the provisions around expungement.
Okay, so we have adopted the substitute. Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I move that that the bill be reported as amended with the substitute.
The motion and
We
the
had a
second.
substitute for reporting, but I move that the subcommittee recommendation was to adopt the substitute and
Which we
report.
did.
So now we've done that. So now I move that the bill be reported with the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 391 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5, abstentions 1.
Ayes 10, noes 5, abstention 1. The bill is reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 643, Patron Senator Eben. This prohibits knowingly selling, giving, or distributing a firearm with a serial number that has been removed, changed, or destroyed. The substitute makes an exception for antique firearms. The subcommittee recommends adopting the substitute and reporting by a vote of 7-0.
Is there a motion on the substitute?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the substitute be reported, that the bill with the substitute be reported.
I believe we need to adopt the substitute first.
Move the adoption of the substitute.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
Now, Madam Chair, I move that the bill be reported with the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 643 be reported. All in favor, record your vote. And opposed, record your vote. Sorry.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 687, Patron Senator Mason, changes the term of incapacitated adult to vulnerable adult for the purposes of crimes of abuse and neglect. The subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 7-0.
And Madam Chair, I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 687 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported. Yes.
Senate Bill 486, Senator McClellan.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator McClellan.
to save some time and with deep regret, I move that Senate Bill 486 be carried over to the 2023 session.
At the
If that's the
request
motion-
of the patron, she would like this bill to be carried over. Is there it's been seconded. All in favor of carrying over Senate Bill 486 till next year, please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is carried over.
The next bill is Senate Bill 174 from Senator Peake. The substitute provides that an individual charged with a violation of a protective order shall have an affirmative defense when the violation was solely in response to contact invited or solicited by the petitioner. The subcommittee recommended adopting the substitute and reporting by a vote of 4-3.
Do we have a motion on the substitute? So move, the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's adopted.
Now, Madam Chair, I move that the Senate Bill 174 with the substitute be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 74 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. The bill is reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 249, patron center servable. This prohibits acts related to sexual intercourse between a person and a brute animal. The subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 6-0.
And I so move, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 249 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 742, patron center servable. This bill expands the current process for petition-based sealing of criminal records for marijuana-related offenses. It provides that certain existing provisions for record sealing also apply to expungement and removes the code sections related to automatic expungement and petition-based expungement of former marijuana convictions that were established in the 21 session last year by Senate Bill 1406, the Cannabis Control Act. The subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 5-1.
And I so move, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 742 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the last bill is Senate Bill 745 from Senator Serville. This expands the eligibility for modification of past sentences and parole based on marijuana convictions. It directs the court to schedule resentencing hearings by July 1st, 2023, and provides court-appointed counsel for indigent clients. This also, in Judiciary Incorporated, Senate Bill 518 from Senator Lucas. And the subcommittee recommended reporting by a vote of 5-1.
And I so move, Madam Chair.
Has your bill already been incorporated, Senator Lucas?
Yes, ma'am, it has. That was done last night.
Apparently, the patron has an amendment, so would staff read it?
I'll just read very briefly Senator Serville's amendment, which would be on line 30 of the substitute after the citation of 53.1-165.1.
Yes.
To add, and shall be scheduled for a parole interview no later than July 1, 2023, allowing for extension of time for reasonable cause.
Would anyone like to move that amendment? It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
That concludes the Public Safety Subcommittee report.
Oh,
Well, what, do we need now to go in and adopt,
we need to report.
recommend? Okay, Madam Chair, I recommend that Senate Bill 745 be reported as amended.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 745 as amended be reported. All in favor, record your vote.
Senator Vogel? Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill is reported. That completes the Public Safety Subcommittee. Thank you to the subcommittee for helping us move through these.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And next is the Resources Subcommittee. April?
Madam Chair, before we move on to the Resources Subcommittee, I thought you might want to hear the two bills that would have been heard in the Public Safety Subcommittee yesterday. Senator Obenshain has Senate Bill 122 and Senate Bill 227.
Yes, Senator Obenshain.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to be in committee yesterday, but I appreciate you taking these up. Senate Bill 122. Taylor Shiflett came and testified to Courts Committee. She was a passenger in a vehicle traveling in eastern Rockingham County on her way home and was struck. She was going 55 miles an hour. Senator Hanger and I are both carrying this bill. She was driving 55 miles an hour, coming in the opposite direction. She didn't know, but a vehicle traveling about 100 miles an hour, fleeing from police, was going the opposite direction and struck her. Ms. Shiflett was 6 months pregnant. Her umbilical cord of her baby detached from the 6-month baby. Baby was viable, was 23, 24 weeks, and baby died. She suffered horrendous injuries, went through 17 surgeries. If she had died, the prosecution would have been for 2 deaths. Because she did not die, there was no prosecution available for any deaths. And as a consequence, we put this bill together, Senator Hanger and I, to essentially create a voluntary and involuntary manslaughter bill for situations just such as this. That is the bill. It just didn't seem right for there to be 2 homicide counts available when both people die, but none when, in a case like this, the umbilical cord is ripped from the baby, baby dies, but mother survives.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Peterson.
and I'm not going to sort of relitigate this conversation we had in courts. The issue is, and I was telling my colleague, I actually voted for the original bill that created this crime, I think it was 2004, which had to do with the intentional killing of a fetus, where you actually intentionally and maliciously went after the fetus and terminated it, killed it. This has to do with killing a fetus by virtue of an act designed either to hurt somebody else intentionally or through reckless, essentially a manslaughter. So, but there's no mens rea as to the fetus required, isn't that correct?
Just as there'd be no mens rea with respect to a passenger in the vehicle.
Right.
Somebody driving 100 miles an hour fleeing from the police has no idea whether there's 1 person or 4 people in the vehicle.
Okay.
And if they kill somebody in the back seat, it's much the same.
Further question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
It's not quite the same, though, because if there's multiple people in the car, they're separate individuals that you can see, as opposed to if it's a fetus, it's within the woman's womb, maybe a few weeks old, maybe 39 weeks old. So I understand what you're trying to do. I just think there's a distinction here that we're making here.
I understand.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, thank you. As Senator Owen mentioned, I also worked on this bill. We have a mutual constituent that had a horrific situation where she chose to have a baby. She was carrying it to full term and then was left in a state where I don't think she can have babies now, which is very unfortunate. She chose to have a baby. So I know the argument against this because the section here calls the baby a fetus, and I understand that some would think this is the camel getting its nose under the tent. For those of you that are pro-choice, I would submit to you that the mother's choice was to have a baby, and the baby was killed by the actions of this individual in a reckless manner. The other point I would make is this bill is here because of the Woodrum Amendment, I presume. It's the only reason it's here. And I've thought about this the other night, in the middle of the night. We waste a lot of time with the Woodrum Amendment. I don't know how many of y'all knew. I don't know how many of y'all knew Ship Woodrum, but he's probably either up there or down there laughing at us. Okay. For doing this, it has no relation to the money we're putting in jails and state corrections. And the mother whose baby was taken away from her by this reckless driver, who should have been charged for killing her baby, made a compelling argument in front of the Judiciary Committee. She can't do that here because we're supposed to talk about whether we want to spend $50,000 or not. So I would move the bill be reported.
Well, Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
Yeah, I was in the room when the Woodrum Amendment was added, and Delegate Woodrum's intent was to make sure that those of us who like to get tough on crime understand that there's a cost to getting tough on crime, and wanted to make sure that our budget recognized that. And so I would have a substitute motion that we add the cause to this bill, that we have to add $50,000 to the budget in order for this bill to become law.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I
Been
have a
moved.
question.
Is there a second
Second.
on adding the clause?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the
Madam
clause is
Chair.
added.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I-
Senator Peterson.
I'm a big believer, just own your votes. And I'm going to vote to pass this bill by indefinitely, and I'll just take the negative emails. So I'll make that motion.
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
it's been moved and
I did-
seconded.
I have a question.
Just one
Patient.
minute. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely. You have a comment, Senator Edwards?
Yeah, I assume we didn't get into the civil matter, but she would have a good civil case, right? If
No,
there's a-
well, in this case, no.
Well,
I mean, this is
if-
somebody who's, I don't know, was probably in a stolen car fleeing from the police with,
Well,
no
some-
proverbial window or bucket.
Assuming uninsured motorist coverage or something, right?
I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to pass the bill by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, second bill I have is Senate Bill 227, which is a misdemeanor bill. Hopefully, I can at least dodge one obstacle with that. This was brought to me by the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office in Rockingham County. And this deals with the statutory, or the statute of limitations for consensual sex with a minor. Right now, minors 15 to 17, consensual sex by an adult with that minor is a misdemeanor. And the situation that arose here was a 15-year-old who was cultivated, was groomed by a man in his mid to late 30s. And this 15-year-old engaged in consensual sex, which she believed was consensual sex with this guy in the late 30s. By the time she was 17, she viewed it much differently. She understood that she'd been seriously taken advantage of, that she'd been victimized by this older man. And the prosecutor explained, one of the hardest things I've had to do is explain to them, this young woman and her family, that the statute of limitations, even though she's 17, is a minor. It ran a year ago. It runs 1 year for this statute, for this offense, 1 year from the date of the offense. This simply says that the statute of limitations for this will be conformed to other sex offenses involving minors. It'll run 1 year from the date of majority. So she would have been able to prosecute this offense until she was 19 years of age.
Move to
Okay.
report, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 227 be reported. Please record your vote.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill
Madam
is
Chair.
reported. Thank you.
Members of the committee, thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Locke.
before we leave the public safety report, I would like to request that on Senate Bill 174, having voted on the prevailing side by which we reported Senate Bill 174, we reconsider the vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the vote on Senate Bill 174 be reconsidered. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reconsidered. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 174 be reported. Well, is the substitute still on it?
Was a substitute, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Also, an amendment in subcommittee that I made, it had the word solely. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think we adopted it.
Oh, we did?
All that's
Okay.
adopted now? Already,
My
okay.
bad, sorry.
All right, so It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 174 be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator Edwards? Ayes 9, no 7.
Ayes 9, noes 7. The bill is reported. Okay, does that now complete that subcommittee? Okay. Next subcommittee will be the Resources Subcommittee, and April will present the
Thank you, Madam
bills.
Chair. The first bill, this is for the members, this is in the green supplement. The first bill is Senate Bill 346, Senator Barker's bill, related to the apportionment and sourcing of property analytics firms. And this had to do with an approval of a project from MEI in December. And the recommendation of the subcommittee was adoption of a substitute and that the bill then be reported as amended, 5 yes, 0 no. So the first thing you would need to do would be adopt the substitute.
Is there a motion on the substitute?
Motion to adopt the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the committee, this deals with a project, CoStar, that went through the MEI process and was acted on in December. And the bill is consistent with what was handled, what the decision that was made through the MEI process, so.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded that Senate Bill 346 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 586, was Senator Chase's bill related to military benefits subtractions and the income tax. Essentially, it would establish an income tax subtraction for military retirement of a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces and military benefits paid to the surviving spouses of a veteran. It was a phased-in subtraction. It had an emergency clause. However, the recommendation of the subcommittee was to incorporate that with a bill that we'll have in a few minutes, Senate Bill 528, Senator Reeves' bill, and that recommendation was 5 yes, 0 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 586 be incorporated into Senate Bill 528. Please, all in favor, record your vote. Opposed, likewise.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bills are incorporated.
All right, Madam Chair, we'll move on to Senate Bill 288. This is Senator Ebbins' bill related to state corporate income taxes and the deduction for business interest disallowed. Essentially, this would increase from 20% to 60%, the Virginia individual and corporate income tax deduction for business interest that's disallowed. You might remember under the Tax and Cuts Jobs Act at the federal level that changes were made. And in 2019, the General Assembly enacted legislation generally conforming to that, but including the federal business interest limitation, and the legislation allowed a state-specific deduction beginning in taxable year 2018 to individuals and corporations subject to that federal business interest limitation. And so therefore, the subcommittee recommend adding the clause amendment and then reporting the bill as amended, 5 yes, 0 no.
I'll move the clause.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded that the clause be added to Senate Bill 288. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 288 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. It's reported.
All right, the next bill, Senate Bill 266, is Senator Hashmi's bill, and this relates to creating a non-refundable tax credit for family caregivers. And this would be a tax credit of up to $1,000 of eligible expenses of a family caregiver for taxable years 2022 through 2026 who directly care for a family member requiring assistance one activity of daily living. The subcommittee recommendation was to carry over the bill and study it in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy. 5 yes, 0 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 266 be carried over and be studied in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy. All, please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Aye 16, no zero. The bill is carried over.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 47, Senator Locke's bill related to housing opportunity tax credits. This bill originally created a new tax credit. However, the patron intended to offer a substitute, which would revert it back to the credit that was here before you last year and would have similar fiscal impacts to what you saw last year as well related to that credit.
I move the substitute.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Substitute's agreed to.
Madam Chair, that substitute would have a stackable tax credit starting with the next tax year. And the only other additional amendment that I had from the committee suggested would be to add the sunset date concurrent with committee policy.
Is there, it's been moved and seconded that the sunset date be made consistent with our policy. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? That amendment's adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 47 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Ayes 16, no zero. Bill's reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 632, also Senator Locke's bill. This would create a non-refundable credit for family caregivers. It was similar to Senate Bill 266, Senator Hashmi's bill. This one would create a non-refundable tax credit of up to $1,000 of eligible expenses of a family caregiver for taxable years 22 through 26 who directly care for a family member requiring assistance with one daily activity. The subcommittee recommended to carry over the bill and study in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy. 5 yes, 0 no.
Is there a motion to carry over and study? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 632 be carried over and studied in the Joint Subcommittee. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Ayes 16, no zero. Bill is carried over.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 31, Senator Martin's bill related to the Virginia Land Conservation Foundation and Fund. There is actually, the subcommittee had recommended carrying over the bill, 4 yes, 1 no, and the bill had done a number of things, including directing the governor to include in each introduced bill, budget bill, an annual general fund appropriation totaling $40 million and a number of other things. However, I believe the patron intends to offer a substitute.
That is correct, Madam Chair. We took the money out of the bill. We took out Section 2.2-1509, pages 12 through 20, and 58.1512, pages 399 to 408. So really, the bill comes down to, with that substitute, the bill comes down to making some relatively small changes to a very successful program, the Virginia Land Conservation Foundation, and which has provided grants for over 20 years protecting working and natural lands across the Commonwealth. So there is a budget amendment with the bill, but that can be considered through that process. But all this does is does four things, and I don't know if at this point in time, Madam Chair, I think we need to take the substitute if we're going to hear the bill.
Okay. So would you like to move the substitute?
I'd move it.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's
Madam Chair.
adopted. Yes,
Just a
Senator
question-
Newman.
Question to the patron. When you say you removed all the money, we also removed the direction that the money must be in future.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You know, it's just whether the committee wants to fund that piece of it in the budget amendment, but other than that, it's just, you know, basically a few changes. And Senator Hanger, you also brought to my attention that there
Right.
was an amendment that, was
Madam
that just
Chair, once
included in
adopt
what
the
we
substitute,
adopted?
I do have another amendment to propose.
Okay, is there a motion on the substitute?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think
Senator
staff has essentially a technical amendment which was suggested by the staff, Virginia Land Conservation Foundation, and has been agreed to by the proponents of this bill. If that could be submitted.
Madam Chair, the amendment I have is drafted to the line amendments of the original bill, but this language is still in the substitute. I just haven't had a chance to marry up the line numbers. But in the introduced bill on line 115, after land, strike the period, or insert a period and strike the remaining of lines 116 through 118. So that's removing the language, or such fee simple interest shall be subject to a reversionary interest held by the board that is protective of the conservation purpose. The board may convey such reversionary interest to another appropriate public body or holder. That would be removed.
I move that amendment, Madam Chair.
Second.
The amendment's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? The amendment's agreed to. Is there a motion to report the bill?
I move to bill be reported.
As amended.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill is Senate Bill 381, Senator McDougal's bill, also relating to a military retirement income tax subtraction. This one would establish an income tax subtraction of up to $40,000 for military retirement income of a veteran who was at least 55 years and older and was honorably discharged after active duty service in the armed forces of the United States, its reserve components of the National Guard of Virginia or any other state. This bill was recommended to be incorporated into Senate Bill 528, Senator Reeves' bill as well, similar to what you did with Senator Chase's bill, and that recommendation was 5 yes, 0 no.
Did I hear a so moved somewhere? Yes. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 381 be incorporated into
Senate Bill 528.
528. All in favor, please record your vote aye.
381.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. It's incorporated.
All right, Madam Chair, the next bill is Senate Bill 386, also a bill from Senator McDougal. This one was related to the filing status for tax returns of affiliated corporations. The bill permits a group of certain affiliated corporations under certain conditions to change the type of corporate income tax return filed to or from combined to consolidated without permission of the tax commissioner. Current law requires that permission. The bill does not have an impact in this biennium, potentially does in future bienniums. But because the changes permitted in tax year 23 or 24 with the following conditions are met, and it does require, I won't list all the conditions, but it requires that you pay the higher of the two taxes. It does not have an impact in this biennium. The recommendation of the subcommittee was that the bill be reported 5 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 386 be reported. Please record. Am I on the wrong one?
Madam Chair, I believe the amendment was to add on line 50 on or before January 1, 2022. And that was so that one of the requirements is that the taxpayer have an affiliate that be a bank. And so this would add a condition that they had to have had that affiliate prior to 2022 so that someone couldn't acquire a bank in order to be eligible for switching filing status.
So,
I
is
see
it-
nodding back there.
What?
The bankers are nodding in the back, so.
Okay, would somebody move the amendment?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? The amendment's agreed to. Now the bill.
Report as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 386 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill is Senate Bill 540, Senator Peak's bill related to a credit for small businesses under income tax. This would provide an individual or corporate income tax credit in tax year 2022 for an eligible small business, which is defined in the bill. It can be a self-employed individual, pass-through entity that employs fewer than 50 employees or has no more than 10 million in gross receipts, or a corporation that is at least 51% independently owned by one or more U.S. or citizens, legal resident aliens, and employs fewer than 50 employees, etc. The subcommittee recommended to carry over the bill and study in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy 3 yes to 2 no's.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate.
Carry over with the joint, go to the joint
Subcommittee, right. All in favor of carrying it over and having it studied over the interim, please record your vote. Aye, opposed, nay.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill is carried over.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 528, is Senator Reeves' bill related to military benefits subtraction. And as you might remember, you have incorporated Senator Chase's bill, Senate Bill 586, and Senator McDougal bill, Senate Bill 381 into this bill. The subcommittee had a substitute to lower the fiscal impact. The subcommittee's substitute would reduce general fund revenue by about 150 over the biennium, but it is for a phased-in subtraction. Instead of starting as the original bill did at a higher level, this would phase it from 5,000 to 20,000 over a 4-year period and would be for those above age 60. The subcommittee recommended doing that and adopting this substitute, and then that the bill be reported as amended, 5 yes, 0 no.
So we need to adopt the substitute. Is there a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now on the bill.
Move to report.
It's been moved that the bill as amended be reported, please. Is there a second? Second. And it's been seconded. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 727, Senator Saslaw's bill related to the establishment of the Virginia Football Stadium Authority. There was a subcommittee substitute that was recommended for adoption. However, the patron intends to offer an additional substitute, which incorporated the subcommittee substitute changes, but there are some additions, and I would ask Jason to comment on what is in those amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Senator Saslaw's patron substitute would remove the construction phase revenues from entering into the fund. It would exclude any non-football related entitlements. It would explicitly restrict online sales except to football related sales. It would expire the entitlement to revenues at the easement of the bonds. It removes the eminent domain provisions, and it increases local discretion by changing shall to may with respect to the campus and requiring that the board go through, the local boards go through the process of adding parcels by resolution.
Oh. Are there questions of staff? Okay, Senator Sasla.
Okay, thank you all.
And I just tell the audience, this is a bill that nobody's heard before. That's why you're speaking.
Right. Before we get started, on your page 27, it's been changed in the bill. The second paragraph in the end says $1 billion be required for construction of the campus. Change the word campus to stadium. The entire campus, the rest is the campus. And that will be an additional $2 billion that my understanding is the owner of the team will put that $2 billion up himself. Let me, before I begin, there's a few guiding principles in this that I think it's important that everybody hear. Nearly every concept found in this legislation has been done before in Virginia, whether it was the Baseball Authority bill passed in the 90s, which how we allow, and we've allowed localities across the state to recapture sales taxes to develop hotels, conference centers. Just some examples, the Hampton Convention Center was one, George Washington Hotel in Winchester, Hotel Roanoke, the former Stonewall Jackson Hotel in Stanton. We've given huge incentives to companies like Amazon, Micron, $775 million to Amazon. The bill does not create a penny of debt backed by the Commonwealth. That's important, not one penny. There's no general obligation pledge. There's no moral obligation pledge behind the bonds. Further, before any of those bonds can be issued, the treasurer of the state has to certify that the state is not on hook for any of the stadium bonds, not one penny. Third, there's no new state taxes are raised to pay for the stadium. And while nearly every stadium built in this partnership with the government across the country has relied on taxes, hotel taxes, local improvement, only the taxes generated by the new development will in fact, have anything to do with this. And the estimates, let me get to this, because this is kind of important to remember. They estimate that the average yearly tax generation total will be $153 million. Of that, $60 million will be retained in the Virginia State Tax General Fund. $59 million will be retained by the locality, okay? $34 million will be deposited in that fund to help pay the bonds. The bonds will be for 30 years, the same as the stadium lease. Initially, they had wanted, I think, 40-year bonds and 30-year lease. I told them that's just not going to fly. So the lease will match the bonds. As I said, the bill authorizes no money to be spent by the state, sets out the framework for how it would be funded. And we've written this bill has been written to provide a number of checks and balances to protect the state. And, I've noticed that, nothing comes out of the general fund. Now, some of the income tax money and the sales tax money is captured, by the authority to pay off the bonds, but it does not affect that part of the sales tax that deals with local transportation and education. Does not, let me repeat that, does not affect that part. They continue to get that money. This is a whole different concept. And it's been done in Atlanta, Dallas, and I think Santa Clara, south of San Francisco, where apparently the 49ers have moved. They're no longer building stadiums that are just surrounded by a huge parking lot. They're becoming entertainment complexes. And that's what they envision here, where, 60, 70 nights a year or more, there will be entertainment because there will be hotels, retail, It's almost a mini city. And I might add, we're in competition with Maryland and with DC. As I said before, it's not going to be just, a stadium. There'll be hotels, restaurants, and other assets like that. And so some other items here that I think are important. Basically, 35% of the total taxes that are generated will go to debt service. 65% will go to the state, which if they go to Maryland or DC, we won't have anything. One of the other items that came up in discussion was the eminent domain. The local governments have eminent domain, but they can't be directed by the stadium authority to apply it wherever. We envision it, if it gets applied anywhere, it'll be for utilities, and that's it, okay? To put utilities underground that will feed it. Let's see. As I said before, the lease will go for 30 years, and that will match the bonds. So as for the time on this, you're talking several years to build this. The football team itself still has to play through FedEx Field through the 2026 season. So this lease would start in, well, the lease would actually start earlier, I guess, because they'd have to start issuing the bonds to build it. But essentially, it's 30 years. And it would, they have to stay on for 30 years or until the bonds are retired. If they get retired sooner, then in theory, they could alter the lease. But they have to stay here until those bonds are paid off. Other questions?
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman, and then Senator Norman, and then Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, may I yield to Senator Norman, because we've been working with Senator Saslaw to have a couple of amendments. Let me yield to Senator Norman first, and then I'll come to my list.
Thank you, Senator Newman. Going back to the eminent domain, and you indicated that it was intended to be used for utilities. Excuse me, is that explicitly now stated within the text of the bill as it exists?
Madam Chair, Senator Norman, that language has been removed. Senator Saslaw is referring to just standard local government.
Senator Norman, can I clarify that?
Go ahead.
Jason, are you saying it's been removed in the substitute that we have before us? Is that right? Or that it has been removed in the subcommittee?
That language has been excised from it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right.
We'll get
Thank
to
you.
that.
I didn't understand that. And the second question I have is, on the campus or other property that the stadium authority might be able to acquire, is there any constraint against them engaging in any form of gaming? I get.
Not in the bill. There's not in this bill that I know of.
Madam Chairman, when you say it's not in the bill, you meant there's not a prohibition or it's not addressed?
It's not I don't think it's addressed. When I read it, it was not addressed.
Thank you, Senator Newman.
Senator Deeds. Oh, sorry.
If you don't mind, maybe I can follow up.
Senator Newman, you had a follow-up.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that Senator Saslaw has been very helpful on this, and we've tried to come up with a substitute. The substitute kind of gets there, but I think it's the concept we might agree on or may not. One is we talked about in the subcommittee a kill switch, and I think we all agreed on that. If the team leaves for something more shiny in 12 years, all of it shuts down. I think we were okay with that in the subcommittee, and it's part of the.
They can only do that if the bonds have been paid off.
That's right. That's right.
Correct.
So it's a quick kill switch. Two, is that I think the discussion was around the fact that all these tax advantages are only for the authority inside that facility, and if they bought something in Lynchburg, they don't get to include that. So I think that
No.
was the concept that is also there.
I think that was also part of the, Jason was in the substitute.
It is. Madam Chair, the other one is, and this is, I think, something that Senator Norman actually caught, is just in making sure the language does not say that the local government has to approve it. In other words, still has to go through local approval.
They've got final veto over the project.
I think that's clarified, Madam Chair, in the substitute as well. The other issue that we've had back and forth about is making sure that we aren't able to put an eBay-type facility there and everything that is sold becomes exempt, right? So it limits that.
That's
and
I think that's in the substitute, right, Jason?
Madam Chair, Senator Newman, that explicitly would state that any state sales and use tax generated from online sales not directly related to the hosting of games in professional football stadium,
Right.
would be excluded.
So that's
It
what,
would allow for things like ticket sales.
yes, we talked about that, and I think that was okay with you, sir. So there is something in the substitute that I think we do need to pull out, I think, and I think it was just miscommunication, and it relates to having no revenues from the construction. I think you guys do need the revenues from the construction. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not following you.
So when you have the salaries of the people who are constructing the facility, was that meant to be included or not to be included? It read like it was expected to be included.
Madam Chair, Senator Newman, the substitute has removed the construction related
I understand.
revenue from all of the definitions.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Trey Adams from McGuire Rich Consulting to answer the question from Senator Newman. As originally designed and in some of the financial pro formas, we had assumed that there would be, as part of that $1 billion stadium construction cost, some sales tax revenues on a percentage of the materials in that would inure to the benefit of the stadium authority.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator
let
Newman.
me ask you more. I got you. And that's a decision maybe the committee can make, or a floor or something like that. What about the salaries of those that are building the facility?
Those were also included in the pro formas that were shared with staff, yes.
Madam Chair, I think that's also an item for the committee to also consider. So, Madam Chair, I think in concept, those were items that I think we discussed with the patron and with the others. And I don't know if all the amendments are lined up exactly that way, but that is what is in the substitute that may be considered by the committee at the appropriate time.
Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, my question really relates to something Senator Newman was asking about. On page 28 of the green sheet, it says that there are certain parcels that shall be included by the county in the project of this campus. And it looks like is that designed to get around local zoning?
Madam Chair, Senator Dees, the green sheet, we just didn't have enough calendar minutes to update those words of the staff summary because the bill was just finished, so that has been taken out. And the shall was changed to may.
Okay,
And
so.
it requires the local governments go through the zoning process.
So, yeah, local ordinances will still be respected.
Madam Chair, Senator Dees.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Senator Evan.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I had two amendments, but I wanted to just ask Senator Saslaw first. The Super Bowl this weekend is being played in California in I think the most expensive privately built, the most expensive stadium ever built, $5.5 billion. And my understanding is that was built entirely with private funds. And
that I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe it's more of a statement. And it was built entirely with private funds. And you mentioned the Amazon deal, which created 25,000 to 37,500 jobs, which I believe cost us about $775 million in foregone payroll tax revenue for jobs. Is that right?
700.
Chair, Senator Evan, the Amazon agreement is a performance-based agreement that results in grant payments that will total $750 million.
750
to Amazon.
So is this, so just as a comparison, and I got to say, I saw the pictures of how this would come out, and I think it would be great economic development to have a concert venue and a smaller concert venue and an amphitheater and a convention center and a hotel and all the shiny things that come with it. But in terms of the money, I have some questions as to whether or not we're getting a great deal or if we're just getting played against Maryland and DC for the most money. Is this $1 billion in foregone tax revenue over 30 years in total? Is that what the estimate was?
Yes, but you got to remember that the state would pick up over that 30-year period over $3 billion.
Yeah, so about a third of the revenue that we would pick up over 30 years. So at the appropriate time, I have two amendments, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know if the staff has the amendments. The first amendment had to do with an extra layer of approval that the MEI would have to sign off on the final deal.
I'm sorry, Senator, perhaps before we do amendments, and I imagine there'll be several, we should hear from the public. This bill has not been heard before. Well, okay, sorry, we did hear it in subcommittee, you're right. Sorry, yes, Adam.
Okay, so the First Amendment was the ability to finalize these tax incentives would be delegated under this bill to the Stadium Authority. And my First Amendment was to say that after they came up with a deal that they liked, that the MEI would have to bless it further as a ratification, because I just started seeing these numbers yesterday night. I met with Mr. Snyder and I asked him about the numbers back a few months ago, and I didn't see any numbers, and I'm just not confident that I can, that I'm the best person to just seeing the numbers yesterday to sign off on this. So I'd like the MEI to have an extra layer of approval beyond the Stadium Authority.
Senator Norman.
And I ask this process-wise, really, is it, at this point, I mean, is it appropriate to refer it to MEI? Because I thought MEI, certified, an endorsement to the tax situation, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel like we're chasing our tail on it a little bit.
This is not what an MEI function is. The MEI is when we are, giving money, the state out of the general fund.
Yes.
To bring people in. There's no general fund money being allocated from the state, so.
I recognize there's no general fund money. I just feel like that this deal is so big that it would be wise to have the expertise and the staff and have an extra layer beyond the Stadium Authority. So that's what I was proposing. Not that there couldn't be a deal, but that after the Stadium Authority came up with the deal, the MEI would have to sign off on it with their expertise.
Madam Chairman, I'm sorry.
Senator Norman, then Senator.
Just, a couple of us have the opportunity to sit on MEI, and just from a process, I don't think this is an appropriate approach on it, and I would resist it.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, this thing's complicated. I know we're going to go through a lot of iterations, and I understand that this is probably going to be debated. We're in the first quarter, if you will, but just something for us to think about is when we delegated taxing and other authorities, the courts really smacked us hard with the Transportation Authority in Tidewater. And whatever you come up with, I just hope that you be very careful, because I'd hate to see this stricken down because it's a delegation of a tax exempt authority, because I don't think they let us do that in the Hampton Roads area. Just something for you to think about as you go through.
Well, I'll withdraw the amendment if there's not support for it, but I would ask staff, is the amendment that I had drafted, is that something that would be subject to getting slapped down in court, or do we think that would withstand that sort of thing?
Madam Chair, I kind of want to be Switzerland here. I'm not going to say it doesn't raise issues, although it's not as clear cut as maybe the Hampton Roads Authority. But the MEI is a subset of the General Assembly, and in theory, this would have been approved in code that they had the right to these sales tax revenues, and so it's questionable whether a subset of the General Assembly could then kind of withhold authority for that to go forward.
Okay, well, then I'll withdraw that amendment, and I do have another amendment.
Okay, Senator Evan.
Does staff have that amendment to read? I don't have a copy of it in my hand. Or is there a copy of it? And we might have to reword it without reference to the MEI, but to the Stadium Authority.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm not sure, you want your second amendment read?
Yeah.
About the investigation?
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Chair, I will post the amendment momentarily, but can also read it to the committee. It would insert a second enactment clause that says no sales tax revenues as defined by section 15.2, 5824 of the code as created by this act shall be allocated to the Virginia Football Stadium Authority pursuant to the provisions of 15.2, 5837 as created by this act until the terms of the lease agreement for a professional football stadium have been reviewed by the MEI Project Approval Commission, and the commission transmits a letter of I'm sorry, was this your first amendment?
I would change, yeah, that was the first one, but.
I'm sorry.
The second one had a reference to the MEI, which we would need to change to the Stadium Authority if it was accepted.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I have too many documents related to this bill. Madam Chair, the amendment he is referencing now is that, as drafted, it says that the MEI Commission, but this would be the authority now, shall not recommend for approval any economic development incentive or entitlement to tax revenues for a professional stadium pursuant to this act until such time as the primary team, as created by the, as defined in the act, makes publicly available all documents and communications obtained in connection with the investigation into the Washington football team or any predecessor or successor entity, its management, its owners, and any other matter relating to or resulting from the investigation by the National Football League.
Madam Chairman, let me just say this. I don't think there's anybody in this room that has any problem with the NFL investigating all of these the allegations that have been made against Mr. Snyder. I certainly don't. I don't think anybody else does. But it does not belong in this bill.
Madam
Yes,
Chairman.
Can I speak to that really briefly?
I'll be a little more excuse me. I apologize.
If I could just explain the amendment really briefly.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean,
No, that's right.
this is just, when you go into business with a billionaire and you're foregoing up to $1 billion in tax revenue, I just think it's appropriate to do due diligence rather than have things drip out month after month, week after week, year after year. And I just think that investigation that Congress has called for to be made public, that if we're going to give him this great incentive, that we're entitled to know that that investigation be made available.
Thank you, Senator Evans. Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I understand respectfully what the senator is suggesting. I think it is totally inappropriate. You know, there are a lot of constraints within the franchise agreements and under the NFL rules and regulations, and I just don't think it's appropriate for the Senate of Virginia or any subsidiary of the legislative process to get involved in an approval or in a quasi-investigatory approach about the individuals, especially based on the accusations that are being made. Based on what I only know in the media, it seems that the NFL is taking that very seriously and are looking at an independent approach, and we got no business being in this, in my opinion.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
I'm just going to follow up on that. And this to me is a business deal. This is a business transaction. And, you know, we didn't investigate Jeff Bezos when we did a deal with Amazon. We didn't investigate anybody. Okay? This is a business transaction. I think there's a lot of business details here that need to be vetted. Maybe it's tonight, maybe it's another time, but we need to focus on the business details. That's the only thing that matters.
Anyone else? Senator Marsden.
Thank you. Madam Chair, would this, the senator's amendment, is that germane to the bill?
Well, were you going forward with it, Senator? I thought you were dropping it.
I moved the amendment. If there's no.
Okay.
This amendment, I move, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just asking whether it's the opinion of the chair that this is, that the bill is, that this amendment, the second amendment that is germane to the.
I believe it is.
It is?
That's my opinion, yes.
Madam Chairman, has anybody adventured a second to the motion at this point? If not,
No.
I think the motion would fail for lack of a second.
All right,
Madam
there's no
Chair.
second. Senator Newman.
I don't want to, but I think if we were to get the substitute on, then some questions could be answered if you're okay with us kind of
Yeah,
moving
but
forward
let's
with that.
move it.
Madam Chair, what we've just described is kind of what that substitute would look like. It would have the kill switch, right? And it would have that only the facility that is actually within the four corners of the location that we're talking about will be included. So you can't have a satellite facility in Lynchburg or
Right.
at Dan Snyder Industries or any of that. There will be no eminent domain except for utilities. So as a clarification that it's just for utilities.
They may have to widen the road, but that would be VDOT more than anybody else.
So I think what we've said is that it's the normal eminent domain,
Right.
not giving eminent domain to take property for the entire facility. That it must be, I think it's what Norman talked about is a clarification that local approval is required and that the online sales, i.e. the eBay situation, would not occur. In other words, you cannot set it up to be an online sales and take the tax.
Right.
Those are the items, Madam Chair, that I think are in the substitute that we had, and if it's okay with you, with those items, I would so move.
Second.
I'm sorry, I was discussing, so,
I'll go through it again.
yeah, would you please?
Okay. First, that there was going to be the kill switch, which we talked about in subcommittee the other day. So if the team leaves, that we don't continue to get it moving forward. Two is that it is only related to the facility. The tax advantages are only related to the facility. It can't be a satellite facility outside of the kind of four corners of where we are. Next is eminent domain will be what is normally eminent domain, not that they can eminent domain for the entire property or otherwise, or delegation of that. The other is the clarification, which I think is there but not totally clear, that, and I think this is what Senator Deeds talked about, that the locals need to approve it, that it is not that they must approve the zoning for the facility. They have to agree to the zoning of it. And the other one is kind of what may be considered the eBay type amendment, saying that the revenues for sales tax would only be for those that are sold on the facility, not for online purposes.
Okay. So that is the amendment that's being proposed. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That amendment with all those components is adopted. Is there further discussion or amendments?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Peterson.
and I've just read this through once, and I'm reading it through again. We've got all these financing authorities, obviously, we've got the stadium authority. Is there going to be bonds issued off of this?
Yes.
And what's the maximum amount of the bonds that will be issued?
I think it's one, I don't know if there's a maximum in there.
There's no
The estimate-
maximum?
The estimate is close to $1 billion.
And that's the cost to build the stadium?
But yes, it's the rest of the campus, the rest
Will
is
be
called the
built
campus.
privately?
And it will be done privately.
Okay, and the bonds will be backed by the state?
No.
I got a yes or a no on that? No.
The state is not backing the bonds.
Okay.
It's forbidden in the statute, in the bill.
Okay.
Are there further questions or discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Hanger.
as Senator Newman observed, this is like the first quarter. This is a work in progress. A lot of work's into it. I like the basic structure and the intent and the basic outline here. So I move the bill as amended be reported.
It's been moved.
I'll second it, but with the explanation.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and now the explanation.
I concur with what Senator Hanger has said. I appreciate that we're under some timeline constraints, but I don't think that those timelines are so restrictive that it will chill the opportunity to continue to evolve this bill. And I had quietly said to Madam Chairman, which I consistently say in committees, I really get nervous when we have a complicated piece of legislation that has this many sophisticated moving parts, and we start trying to construct it on the fly. But we do we have until Tuesday, Madam?
Yes.
I mean, we've got
We have
a
until
couple of days
Tuesday.
where we can try to do this a little more deliberately, but I am sucking it with that understanding.
Madam Chair, if I could just say
Yes,
one thing
Senator
quickly.
Newman.
One, I've opposed a lot of these, Dick, and because I don't like them, but this one is different. This to me is not, if we were writing a check at all, as you know, I'd be out, but this is not. This is the essence of self-help. We've done that in Richmond, we've done it in Virginia Beach, we've done it in Bristol. That's a different way to do it. And, I think also if we had not fixed eminent domain, a lot of things, but I think we are on a path that.
They will be fixed in the substitute.
Yes, sir, they will.
Right.
All those things will be,
Right.
that's great. So, Madam Chair, I'm going to vote yes, but I think that Senator Norman is exactly right. There's a lot of work I think it needs to be done. And the question's going to come up, is 30 years right? It's not today, but is it the right number? Is it 25 years? Is it 20 years? I don't know. But I imagine that ultimately we'll get down the road somewhere and we'll talk about the length of the bonds too.
Okay, we have the motion and the second that the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Somebody vote me.
Ayes 14, noes 2.
Ayes 14, noes 2. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair, I skipped a bill by accident earlier. My pages were stuck together. The next bill is Senate Bill 551, Senator Peak's bill related to the lowering rate of gasoline and diesel fuel taxes. It would reduce the state tax levied on gasoline and diesel fuel by 5 cents for 2023 to the rates that were in effect prior to July 1 of 2021. The subcommittee recommended that the bill be passed by indefinitely on a vote of 3 yes, 2 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 541 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Madam Chair, the final, there's one more bill for the Resources Subcommittee, Senate Bill 360, Senator Stewart's bill related to the state subsidy of property tax exemptions for disabled veterans and surviving spouses. You may remember that effective in tax year 2022, this would require a state to subsidize localities for a portion of the revenue loss associated with the local real estate tax exemption for disabled veterans and surviving spouses of members of the armed forces who are killed in action. The subsidy would be equal to the amount of foregone revenue that exceeds 1% of the local real estate tax base, which is about 12.6 million general fund dollars a year and growing. The subcommittee recommended to carry the bill over and studied it in the Joint Subcommittee on Tax Policy this year on a vote of 5 yes, 0 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 360 be carried over for the year and it be studied in the interim. All in favor, please record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's carried over.
That completes the Resources Subcommittee report.
Okay, and so now I believe we're finally able to go to the members who've been waiting patiently for an hour and a half. And there are a lot of you. So I'm doing them in the order that you've signed up. First is Senator Kiggins.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Senate Bill 569, and I have a substitute.
There's a substitute. Is there a motion on? It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed? It's adopted. Senator Kiggins.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the substitute requires the Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources and Secretary of Transportation, in conjunction with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, to evaluate and make recommendations to the General Assembly regarding a single state entity to develop, manage, and integrate the Commonwealth's restoration and resiliency projects. So just to come up with a report, brings everyone to the table and report back about the single state entity that the original bill was trying to implement.
Okay. Are there questions for the patron? Yes, Senator Evans.
I've got one. I don't know who it was, some constituent who commented that it creates a coastal resiliency authority with members from various planning districts, but does the substitute still leave out Northern Virginia as one of those people who have seats at the table on this issue?
So the substitute is now just requiring the secretaries to get together and everyone to kind of come together and decide if this single state entity is something that Virginia needs.
I see.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Barker.
A couple a question or two anyway, for Senator Higgins. A lot of the people who are working on Chesapeake Bay and some of the flood issues that we've been doing over the last 5 to 10 years, I think we've made a lot of progress on it. But a lot of them have had concerns about the bill and then now are expressing some similar concerns about the language related in the study that's there. And I think part of what they are reacting to is an implication in the study language that the outcomes are going to be X, Y, and Z, which were things that were talked about in the original bill. Rather than you study and find out if X, Y, and Z are what you want or whether it's really A, B, and C. Can you respond on any way to those types of concerns that I've been hearing on things?
So your question is if what's in the bill is going to be addressed in the substitute with when, that's what I would assume, and I think we have a member from the administration who was here. He was here, maybe he's not here anymore. Do you have a better answer for that?
Could you repeat your question? It's very hard to be.
Yes, various advocates that have been involved, and certainly, I mean, we've had Senator Lewis has taken a long leadership role in that in the Senate. There are a lot of things that we've already done. There are other things that we have been working on, and there was concerns expressed by a lot of the advocates that have been involved in the flood issues and the climate change reactions on things. And they expressed some significant concern about what was proposed in the bill. And then just today I got communication from them that they have similar concerns as to the study and that they feel like it is oriented to achieve things that were in the original bill but have not necessarily been studied to get you to determine whether the approach is actually the best approach to take in this situation.
Okay.
And this is a long-term issue we're going to be dealing with, and I would hate for us to, get off on a bad footing here. So can you respond to how you would see all this coming together and being consistent with what Senator Lewis and others have been working on over the last 5 to 10 years?
Sure. I will say that the administration is committed to working with Senator Lewis and all the General Assembly to figure out what the best outcome is to develop a single entity if that is what the General Assembly decides to do.
Well, I think part of the question was whether a single entity was actually the solution that's why I have some concern about the process that we're in.
Sure.
We clearly want to work to get to the right solution on things.
Sure.
And I don't want us presupposing what the outcome is going to be before we actually have studied it more thoroughly there. And one of the suggestions that had been made was to see how things develop with the similar bill on the House of Delegates side. And by the time it gets over here, there may be more opportunity to sort of work to get a result that everybody agrees is heading in the right direction and is going to get us the information before we make the decision as to how we're going to implement it.
Okay.
They have no answer. Okay.
All right, Madam Chair, if you'd like, I'd make a motion that we carry this bill over and then try to see what we get from the House and then try to work together to reach a consensus on things rather than sort of starting off in a direction that's going to be, is clearly troubling to some people, so.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that this bill be carried over and that we try and work with the House.
Right.
With what comes over. Okay, all in favor of that motion, please record yourself. Vote aye, opposed no.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. The bill is carried over.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Next, Senator Reeves.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I have, I think first up is Senate Bill 366.
Senate Bill 366.
Madam Chair, this bill came to me as kind of something we overlooked when we allowed HHR the ability to start playing slot machines. And what this bill does is it just raises the legal age to play slot machines where they're doing parimutuel betting to 21. It leaves parimutuel betting itself at 18, and that's pretty much the standard in all the states that surround us. And I can go through that. I didn't realize there was going to be such a cost to raising that to the Commonwealth. So that's going to be a decision that you all make today, whether or not you want to allow 18-year-olds to gamble on slot machines or raise it. But they're showing a fiscal impact of $45,400.
Are there questions for Senator Reeves? Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 366 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the committee's indulgence. We can go to Senate Bill 402.
Senate Bill 402.
Madam Chair, this is the work product of the subcommittee on charitable gaming, where we were trying to clean up based on the budget amendment. It comes at the recommendations from the OSIG report that talked about fixing the charitable gaming board. What this bill would do.
Actually, Senator, as I see, we now know that this has no fiscal impact.
Yes, ma'am. It's
So
zero.
would someone like to make a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 402 be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator Newman for Vogel. Ayes 15, no 0. Abstentions 1.
Ayes 15, no 0, abstention 1. Bill's reported. Senator Reeves.
Madam Chair, thank you. The next bill, Senate Bill 403. Again, the work product from the subcommittee that we worked on this summer. This is probably the most contentious bill out of all of them, which is trying to get a rein on what we have and where it's at with regard to social quarters. There is a Woodrum amendment, I believe, on the bill that's 50,000. But what this does is it designate what a social quarter is, where we've tried to make sure that we are allowing all the organizations that have been involved in charitable gaming the opportunity to do that within the four walls of the confinement of a social quarter, as well as some carve-outs for some of the entities that came out to ask that they be allowed to do it as well. So there's language in association with that.
Madam Chair, I'd move
Yes,
that we
Senator.
put the financial contingency clause on this bill.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second to put the financial contingency clause on?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we put the clause on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. 1 no.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I would only say as we put that on, that this is an important bill that we probably shouldn't even think about not funding at $50,000. There will be lost revenue, obviously,
Yes.
because we're restricting the social quarter definition. But at any rate, that's my thought.
I agree with you. Okay. So we have the clause on, and we have a motion. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
To report as amended? Yes. Okay. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero, abstentions 1.
Ayes 15, no zero, abstention 1. The bill's reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill I have is SB 530, which is, again, part of the work product of the subcommittee. I show the bill before us is amendment in nature of substitute. We rolled Senator McDougal's bill into my bill, but I don't show any cost. I don't know. It says 0 on my report.
April?
Madam Chair, I think before it came to us, we were concerned that it was indeterminate. I do think, however, that there's a committee amendment.
Move to report.
We have there's an amendment.
I withdraw, Madam Chair.
Okay. Would somebody say what the amendment is?
No, we're not doing it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, John.
I apologize, Madam Chair. I had the wrong information.
Okay.
Move to report.
So it's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Ayes 16, no zero. The bill's reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill I have is Senate Bill 768. The fiscal impact statement says there is no budget amendment necessary, but just to explain the bill, it just says a qualifying veteran step-parent must have claimed the child on his tax return for 3 years or claimed the child of its defense enrollment eligibility reporting system for 3 years to qualify for VMS-DEP benefits. This gives the Commissioner of the Department of Veteran Services the authority to waive residency requirements if they're not met due to the death of the veteran or surviving spouse. So I don't have a budget.
Okay. I must say I was surprised this wasn't already the case. So, very surprised. Okay, is there a motion on Senate Bill 768?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that it be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no zero.
Ayes 16, no zero. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The last bill I have is Senate Bill 769. I know there's an amendment in the nature of substitute, so if we can move the substitute, I would ask that we do that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the substitute to 769 be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Okay, Madam Chair, by adopting the substitute, we wipe out the budget ask of $90,000, or at least it was put on the bill. It takes out DSS. The bill basically gives general guidelines for VEC on how to kind of reel in some of the fraud that we're seeing in VEC. In working with Senator Servo and a bunch of others, the original bill was too narrowly defined, and this gives broader general terms. Both VEC and the stakeholders all involved we're happy with that. When it was sent to Finance, DSS estimated that it would be incurring a one-time cost of $180,000 to upgrade the agency's Virginia case management system, but VEC feels like that they can still work within that without having to pay for new computers for DSS, or excuse me, DSS. So I just took them out of the bill so I don't have to pay for their computers.
Okay. The reason I'm hesitating is that I'm reading that the fiscal impact statement isn't available. Is that still the case, or is it something shown up?
Madam Chair, I would have Mike to respond. I believe the biggest concern related to the fiscal impact was the impact related to the reporting from DMAS and DSS, but I believe Senator Reeves just said that that substitute would remove that.
It removed that? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there a motion then on the bill?
Move to report.
It's It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero.
Thank you,
Bill's
Madam
reported.
Chairman. Committee's
You've
time
had a good
tonight.
night.
Thank you very much. I hope you all.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 213.
Senate Bill 213.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill requires our VRS system to divest from fossil fuels by 2027. Our retirement system is our future. It invests in our future. It invests in so many important things for so many families across Virginia. But yet we don't quite have the guidepost to understand that at the same time, we have billions in liabilities now in Virginia between coastal resiliency, coastal waterflood flooding, and other things that have impacted our communities. It's time that we start to align our future with also the future of what impacts us. And I think there are many different impacts that we need to consider. And looking at that, I've been a member of VRS for 20 years as a local government employee, yet our investment dollars aren't guided in a way that isn't harmful to Virginia. And I think there's some important context that we need to consider. Right now, VRS has $104 billion in assets under management. And so this is a significant part of the consideration. As you'll see in the bill, this also provides the surety to the VRS system that it's in compliance of section 51.1-12430, which is the standard of care. It does, as written, make sure that this is compliance with those sections.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
Senator McPike, you talk about a fossil fuel company. I mean, would a fossil fuel company, obviously it would be a petroleum company, I would take it, or a natural gas company?
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
That's correct. As you'll see under fossil fuel companies, lines 47 through 52, including the provision that the company receives more than 50% of its gross revenues from companies that meet the definition under those definitions.
Well, what about?
Senator Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. What about, for example, Ford Motor Company or any motor company that sells cars that use gasoline, such, I drive one of those. Would we not be able to invest in those vehicle companies?
As I had read it, it doesn't fall under necessarily lines 55 through 57 of fossil fuel infrastructure, which means oils, pipelines, refineries, oil, gas-fired power plants, et cetera, used exclusively for fossil fuels. It doesn't say by fossil fuels.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator
Question.
Marsden.
Thank you. Senator McPike, I'm really not sure exactly how VRS does their investments, but I would assume that they might have, or they may have, a portfolio of mixed funds, some kind of a fund with a number of different things in it that may include fossil fuels, so it wouldn't be a direct investment. It would be, in a mutual fund, if you will. How does the bill account for that?
So it required them to review and provide reports to the General Assembly on their efforts for the eventual divestment of fossil fuels by 2027. And that's a part of the point, including in the provision, is continued reports and updates. Unless we set a goal and a benchmark, we're never going to get there. Right now, VRS does, I think, a good job at managing roughly 30% of its funds within house, within staff. And so we already have 30% of our funds under direct eyes on non-mixed funds that you're talking about. How are we starting to set the goals in terms of what we're, and they're doing, they save $45 million a year by managing in-house, and I think it's great. But what are we doing and what goalposts are we setting in that regards? There's opportunities that we're not capturing yet.
Senator Norman.
I've been waiting to comment on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Was there someone else? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm sure we have a few, those in opposition as well. And
right, and this has not been heard before, so we'll give 2 minutes on each side. Those in favor of the bill?
If you're in the Zoom room and would like to speak in favor of this bill, please raise your hand electronically now. There are none in support in the Zoom room at this time.
And I don't see any here
Madam
either.
Chair.
Is there any
I would say that we can probably save the folks that are in favor of it right now if we just recognize that this would be a significant impact on our retirement system at this point in time. A good, thoughtful idea in terms of where we're at with fossil fuels, and I would recognize that. But I think this is the type of bill, particularly where we're in a situation now where we're trying to meet our commitment by 2044 to have this fund fully funded. And I'm fully in support this year of putting an additional $1 billion in, if we got the cash to do it. But this, I think we just kind of gently need to lay it on the table. So I would move that we PBI the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, the bill be PBI'd. I feel like we sort of given it short shrift, though, because we haven't heard really from
Well, Madam Chair,
we haven't heard.
Here, I thought we're going to speak against it. Nobody wanted to speak for it. So I don't
Did it?
Short shifted if there's somebody who wants to make a case.
Is there anyone on either side who'd like to speak to this bill?
If you're in the Zoom room and would like to speak towards this bill, please raise your hand electronically now.
Okay, there is no one, so, okay.
Madam
So we
Chair,
have.
there is one in the Zoom room who would like to speak.
Okay. I think so. Yeah, yes, could we hear from the Zoom room?
Cheryl Binkley, please unmute and begin your testimony now.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Binkley. I am the president of the Fairfax Education Association, retired. As I understand this bill, it is for studying the prospect of divesting, not for automatically going to divestment. And I understand from some of my much wealthier than me friends that that the divested funds that are out there now are fast becoming as or more profitable than those that are mixed funds. I don't see a problem with studying the issue and moving us in a direction we'll need to move to in order to protect our own environment.
Thank you. I have a note that the VRS board has sent a letter that unanimously says they're opposed to this bill. And I'm wondering if VRS has any comments they want to make.
This is like a 5-second motion. Does anyone under the impression it's going to come up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator. As you noted, the Board of Trustees has unanimously opposed divestment legislation. Historically, we have opposed divestment regardless of the topic. We believe that having access to the broadest opportunity set possible is in the best interest of our members and beneficiaries and is consistent with our fiduciary duty as outlined in the Code of Virginia, in the Constitution, as well as in the Internal Revenue Code. And so I know the hour is late, and I could share, we do believe it would have a significant fiscal impact, not only on the assets that we hold directly, but also in our private market assets, which have been performing quite well for us. If any of that, in our private markets, if any of those plans have an exposure to fossil fuels, we would have to divest of all of it, not just a portion. We don't have the option to pick and choose in our private market assets. So we respectfully request that you consider that this bill is not in the best interest of our members and beneficiaries, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Madam Chair,
Senator
I
Peterson.
think there was a motion by Senator Hanger, and
Yes.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to PBI the bill.
Madam Chair, if I can speak to it, not to extend it at all.
Very briefly.
So first off, we do have the constitutional provisions of by law of the General Assembly to direct the investment of funds. That's the one thing that is errant within the letter that was sent to you. The second is this piece of legislation also includes the provision accepting under 51.1 that it is meeting the fiduciary standards. So that's taken care of in that bill. So the policy question before, now that those two issues are eliminated, of where do we want to go as Virginia and set the stage for 2027? That's the question before you. Are we going to set the stage? Are we going to start to move the needle? If you look through the board meeting minutes, all of it's about the bottom line. It's not necessarily what's in the best interest of all of Virginia.
Madam
That's
Chair,
the policy question.
I'm happy to respond to that. This is our retirement fund. This is people's retirement.
Yeah, mine as
okay?
well.
you and I set policy. I mean, we can put petroleum products out of business tomorrow if we want to in this state. But this is people's retirement. So I think it's a different calculus. I will support the motion.
Okay, so the motion is that the bill be passed by indefinitely. It's been seconded. Please record your vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator McPike.
Ayes 16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bill is passed by indefinitely. Next in line, Senator Pelion.
No, it's billion. It's billion. It is not pion. Sorry. We're all still learning.
Did I say it?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I know most members of this committee heard this bill this morning in Health, there was an extensive substitute and unanimously reported from Health 15 to 0 and expands existing provisions of the College Partnership Lab School Program. While the code currently provides for the creation of lab schools in limited circumstances, there aren't any. Two reasons for that are the scope of the code and the funding. The governor has submitted a budget amendment in the amount of $150 million to support startup costs for the first round of new lab schools under the proposed expanded program. For future years, lab schools can seek additional state funding from College Partnership Lab School Fund, which already exists in code, or support from other organizations, foundations, and entities. The fiscal impact statement identifies a couple of different funding options. However, I'd like to emphasize that as proposed, the $150 million would be provided through a general fund appropriation to the lab school fund specifically, and would be appropriated separate from and in addition to K-12 funding. Finally, Madam Chair, this bill ensures that the state ADM dollars appropriated and intended for local school divisions stay with local school divisions, which is similar in concept to the no-loss funding that we've adopted as part of our current budget. And as I said this morning, this bill has had a lot of bipartisan work to improve it, and it's now supported by the VEA, the VSBA, and the Virginia Association of School Superintendents.
Well, we don't have to fund it in the budget. That's another motion. No, we don't have to fund it.
Madam Chair, move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that the Senate Bill 598 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero. Abstentions 1.
Ayes 15, no zero, abstention 1. Bill's reported. Senator Mason.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, what number would you like us to start on? So did 687, can I get one? 687 may have already been presented, is that, okay, so that was not my one. All right, so let's try Senate Bill 198.
Senate Bill 198.
Yes, ma'am. So this is an effort to create kind of a mental health docket light and give an option when we see somebody who's been found incompetent to stand trial, rather than send them to our mental hospital. If the Commonwealth and the defense agree, we could do some mandatory outpatient. The fiscal report said it may put more workload on the Community Services Board. That's the state of the world as we know it, Madam Chairman. So that's the only thing that I see on the financial. I'm happy to address further, but trying to keep this to the financial impact.
Thank you. Are there questions for Senator Mason? Okay, we don't have a fiscal impact statement currently, but is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 198 be reported. All in favor, please record your vote. Opposed also.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of,
Senator Ruff for Norman.
Jump the gun.
Ayes 16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So since we didn't have one on that one, let's go and move to one we definitely got one on. 6 88. It's in keeping in the same concept. We're trying to come up with a civil approach to mental health cases in our criminal courts. But we need to gather information. So we already send the psychiatric evaluations to DBHDS. We de-identify them to evaluate the evaluators. We have asked that we send them to them without de-identified information. So you can say Monty Mason trespassing Eastern State, Monty Mason petty larceny, mandatory, so we can get a holistic view of what's going on with patients. DBHDS decided they needed a new computer system. And so that's what the fiscal impact statement is.
That's, Madam Chair.
Yes.
As I recall
Senator Deeds.
from the Judiciary Committee, that is the difference. You put in budget amendments for 110 each year, and the statement came back, they need 722 the first year and 233 the next year.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, I put in an FTE to gather the information, then de-identify it and return to the standard case.
Well, Madam Chair, I would move that we put on a financial contingency and maybe figure it out between now and the end of the session if we keep the bill going.
Second. Thank you, sir.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend it with the contingency clause. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Move the
Okay.
report.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Senator Sasla, how do you vote? Aye. Your vote will be noted. Aye 16, no 0.
Aye 16, no 0.
All that wander are not lost, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next one, Madam Chair, is Senate Bill 576. This,
576.
yes, ma'am. This just is allowing gaming on Virginia universities. I believe we've been looking at this opposite. This continues to drive the activity underground. If there's anybody in the room that doesn't think a Virginian bet on Virginia Tech's football game this year, I'd like to hear from them. I'm not sure why it showed up here, other than I guess it would be a nominal amount of increased revenue associated with that. I don't give a whit about the revenue. I really have said all along, I just want to take the back of the restaurant, bar, bookies out of play and have it here where you can track money, who you bet on it. That's
Okay. Are there any questions on the bill? Is there a motion on the bill?
Move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 576 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 575 is asking our general services and our fleets that when you go to replace cars, you use a free calculator to determine what's the most cost efficient. Is it more cost efficient to use a I beg your
The
pardon?
bill number, sir?
Beg your pardon, sir?
The bill number?
Oh, I'm sorry, 575. My apologies.
576.
My apologies. No, we were just 76.
Wait, okay,
I
so now
jumped
we're-
ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The last two have legit conversations here, that's why I did them in that order. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
I just don't see it.
And if there's no 575, I'm happy to skip it.
Oh, 575 apparently already passed the Senate.
Outstanding. I love that bill, Madam
We
Chair.
loved it.
No reason to relitigate that, Madam Chair. What?
5 to 1 on that.
I'm pretty confident this one did, Madam Chair, but I hope it did. This is Senate Bill 685.
685.
Yes, ma'am. Hope for the same fate. 685 is the advanced manufacturing talent investment. We tried to replicate what we did a number of years ago with IT and computer degrees. We're trying to get to the point that we can turn out 25,000 additional credentials in advanced manufacturing over the next 20 years. You'll see on lines 53 to 56, the fund that is required, which is the reason it's here. We put in a $7.5 million a year budget request. because on lines 88 and 89, we talk about annual grant payments and then speak to the eligibility. So our community colleges, our universities, maybe even our dual enrollment will put forward grants and MOU requests to try to come up with advanced manufacturing credentials. We'll have a designated review group that will look at them and put them under MOU. But we ask for $7.5 million a year to get this program started to try to turn out these advanced manufacturing credentials over the next 20 years.
This is just setting up the fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
This is the infant stage.
I believe that is something we could do, but I think probably before it's funded, we would wait until after JLARC, which is doing a financial aid study right now, would address this.
Okay, so the structure now, cash money later.
Yes.
Thank you.
Based on JLARC's recommendations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so that, would somebody move that?
Madam Chair, with the understanding that we're just establishing the fund and perhaps not funding it this year, I move that we report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 685 be reported. Please record your vote.
I-16, no, 0.
I-16, no, 0.
Apologies for the one bill that already passed, Madam Chair, but thank you for your indulgence.
See, next, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I'll start with 432. This is a change in the language and code. What precipitated this bill is that the convention center here on 3rd Street that you're all familiar with is a collaboration between many different counties and communities, and it has never been interpreted as an accommodation as a hotel that would require taxation, but they retroactively gave a tax bill to the localities for basically what appears to be accommodations, but they don't sleep anybody there. So by narrowing the definition in this and making it retroactive, we will make what has been in practice, which that the convention center is not taxed like a hotel. And that is my brief. I have much more wise people to articulate this to you, but that is the dumbed down version in fast, and there's no fiscal impact.
Well, what we have is that there is an indeterminate but possibly significant negative impact to state revenue.
I'm sorry. I did not see that when I read it, but I will let them speak to this.
So do,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
let's have public comment. Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Mike Sherman with the County of Henrico on behalf of the member localities that own the convention center. This issue came on our radar mid last year. One of the auditors over at our Friends with Tax approached the convention center, was looking to do an audit, and as the senator mentioned.
Not the background, they want to know if there's going to be an implication in the bottom line.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. As it relates to that fiscal impact statement, I think there's maybe a broader definition or understanding of the law, if you will, as to that. This bill is really only intended to be a clarification of existing law. As such, there would be no fiscal impact.
If you are in the Zoom room and you would like to speak to this, please raise your hand electronically.
Yeah, I believe there's somebody, I'm
Okay.
sorry, Senator.
No, and I mean, we can speak to it. This is hypothetical because it's never been collected. And so this was a retroactive bill that was given. So if it is anywhere an impact, it would be in hypothetical taxes collected that have never been collected before, and it's a retroactive bill, if that helps.
Okay,
I don't see the Zoom room.
did you want to speak?
No, ma'am, I think.
Okay. I believe that our staff has a recommended substitute for us.
Yes, indeed, your staff does, and I was supposed to say that.
And so is there a motion to adopt a substitute?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, it's adopted.
Madam Chair, what does the substitute do that's different from the bill?
Madam Chair, the substitute just states that the provisions of the bill won't entitle a taxpayer to a refund, so it wouldn't affect the situation for taxpayers prior to the enactment date.
Okay.
I believe it also clarified, Connor and Madam Chair, that it
Yes.
also clarified, there were multiple substitutes, it also clarified who does pay the tax and who doesn't, based on the definition. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, that's accurate.
Okay, so we have the substitute adopted. And is there a motion on the bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 432 be reported. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero, the bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senate Bill 437 is a bill also to help my locality. It adds local public education foundations to have access to life, accident, and health insurance programs like other employees of the locality that are state-generated, not VRS. And my understanding is there is not a fiscal impact to the state on this either. They would be participating in our pools for that pooled insurance, life,
So, Madam Chair.
accident, and health.
When the fiscal notes say that no fiscal impact statement is currently available, but there's no state fiscal impact, if there is one, it's a local government fiscal impact?
It is, because exactly, yes, sir.
This is 437.
They would be adding them to their local employees that participate with the state programs.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
for our
Senator
conversation earlier, do they have to take this? In other words, do the locals have to take this? Is this going to direct them? They need to take it? They need to do it? They must do it?
Does each locality, are they forced to do it? No, it's permissive. It just allows localities to include. The public education foundations are just a little carve out, and they're working to add money to the pot for public schools, but they don't really qualify unless we make this change.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 437 be reported. Please record your vote.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero, the bill's reported. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The last bill is Senate Bill 751, and this is on health workforce pathways. And this bill does a couple of things. It allows G3 and the Workforce Credentials Grant Program, which have not formerly allowed high school students to participate in them, to utilize that funding to obtain from the community colleges while they're in high school the credentials, the high-demand healthcare credentials that we need in Virginia, so that as they graduate high school, they'll already have a credential in hand and become employed. So there's language to allow that participation for high school students. Obviously, they would still have to qualify for all the qualifications of those two programs. And then there is a fiscal impact that would allow the community colleges to set these programs up and get them up and moving.
Madam Chair, I note that the patron submitted budget amendments. Is it appropriate to amend this bill to put the financial contingency in place?
Actually, JLARC is doing a study that could very well include this topic. So it might be wise to carry it over and send a letter to JLARC to have them consider this as part of that financial aid study.
Madam Chairman, I know that they're specifically looking at, the JLARC study is looking at how we should standardize funding dual enrollment with the community colleges, because there's so many different vehicles.
Right.
I think in the budget, we could still allow G3 and those language amendments in the budget for G3 and workforce to be utilized by that population. And that might get people who are 400% or below the poverty level not having to extend their education, even if we don't necessarily fund the program. But access might be advantageous to abbreviate their path and their cost to the workforce.
Okay.
Those are budget amendments you have separately from this.
Is there a budget amendment?
There are three. There's two that are language for G3 and workforce, and then there's one that would be to give the community college the money to set the pathways up and help the kids math through it. Obviously, kids would have to take the right classes from 6th grade through to get it done. So there's a little
All right,
bit
so
of work.
Let's combine,
let's do both,
yeah.
all three.
Done.
So go ahead.
The motion would be to carry over the bill, to keep open the option of funding the budget amendments that you put in it relative to this, and to have the JLARC study so that we can come back and deal with this next year.
That's the motion, and it's been seconded. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. What?
No, I think your vote's fine, Senator Saslow.
Senator Saslow, would you like your vote? I will change your vote. It'll be reflected.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
We're working faster than our machines can keep.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill's reported.
Continue.
Carried over, sorry. Okay. All right, next, Senator Morrissey.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First bill is SB 640, the Henrico Public Defender's Office.
640?
Yes,
Senate
ma'am.
Bill 640.
Yes, Madam Chair. And the first thing that I will point out is that there, due to the delayed enactment clause, the appropriation for fiscal year 2023 is $1,762,160. So let me continue, Madam Chair. As most of you know, this bill is very simple. It creates a public defender's office in Henrico County. The delayed enactment clause came at the request of the Indigent Defense Commission in order to get the office time to get it up and running. We did a Chesterfield County Public Defender's Office last year, and it was determined that you need a little bit more time to get things in order. The Public Defender's Office was established in the mid-'70s, and we now have 26 Public Defender's Office. Every one that has been established has been successful. It provides zealous representation with all of the attorneys focused on one thing, criminal defense. I'm not going to go into the various aspects of the office. We have done this before. I shared it with the committee last year. It'd be a little repetitive, but I will try to answer any questions that any member has.
There's been some interest in this bill because it was not requested by the local Commonwealth attorney, which is the usual way bills such as this come to us. Is there any motion on this bill?
Let me just address that point, Madam Chair. Nor was the Chesterfield County office asked by the locality, but there's no cost to Henrico County. This money goes to the Public Defender's, the Indigent Defense Commission. They do everything from the setup. There is a representative from Henrico County here, but
Madam Chair, I would move we put financial contingency clause on this bill.
All right, it's been moved, but there is another suggestion possible.
Yeah, we have 4 bills that are dealing with public defenders and court-appointed attorneys and those types of things. And it seems as though what would be helpful was to get all 4 of those studied during the year and then sort of figure out how we want to proceed in the future in terms of what we would fund in these situations there. The 3 bills that, the 4 bills are Senate Bill 475 from Senator McClellan, Senate Bill 640 from you, Senator Morrissey, Senate Bill 136 from Senator Edwards, and Senate Bill 282 from Senator Evan. And so what we were thinking was just sort of roll all those together into Senator McClellan's bill and have that then be the vehicle that we would have a study done on that, so.
Whatever your pleasure is, Senator Barker.
Could I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Evans.
Senator Barker, who would do the study?
Yeah.
What are the bill numbers again?
The bill numbers are 136, 282, 475, and 640.
And they would.
We use 475 as the vehicle. Yeah.
And Madam Chair, did he say JLARC would do the study?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to do one at a time, correct? All right, here we go. George, can you make?
I move Senate Bill 136 be incorporated into 475.
Please, it's been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Ding.
Senator Deeds?
Who's your-
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero, it's incorporated.
All right, then the next one is Senate Bill 282 to roll into 475, so.
Is there a second to that motion? It's been seconded. Please record your vote. We need,
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero, that bill is incorporated.
All right, and then the other one is Senate Bill 640 roll in to incorporate.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's been seconded. Please record your vote. Okay. Is that the last one?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
now all the bills
I-16, no
are-
zero.
I-16, no zero. It's incorporated. So now all of the similar bills are incorporated, and we have Senator McClellan's bill now in front of us.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if Senator Barker could repeat what JLARC is studying, because I could not hear him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, in the substitute JLARC, in consultation with the Indigent Defense Commission and the Judicial Council, would review issues related to whether statewide offices need to be established for public defenders, compensation issues for public defenders, and compensation issues for Indigent Defense Council.
Madam Chair, has anybody cleared with JLARC as to whether or not they have the space to do this work?
Serving on JLARC, they have some space for some legislatively directed,
I'd
be happy to speak.
Well, and also, Madam Chair, could I add one thing quickly? Madam Chair, I think the intent of the substitute was also to allow JLARC to have a consultant if necessary to do that work.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. Madam Chair, I'm Justin Brown from the Joint Legislative Audit Commission. Just a couple things to clarify. A couple days ago in Judiciary, there was a bill to look at public defenders, and there was, I believe, discussion there about sending a letter to the JLARC Study Subcommittee for them to consider that topic along with other topics, things that come through joint resolution. All this discussion, I think the way the JLARC protocol would work is that would have to, this would have to be handled similarly. That's kind of been the tradition, where a letter is sent asking JLARC to consider this topic, which actually blends quite well with what came up in Judiciary in terms of the broader question of public defenders and court appointed. But just to clarify, historically, this would be through a letter to JLARC,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Then we'll adjust the motion to have, I send a letter
That's what was done in judiciary on a similar topic just a couple days ago.
Okay,
So,
good.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator McClellan.
so it sounds like the appropriate motion is to carry over Senate Bill 475 with a letter to Jay Lark to study everything that Lisa just said.
And then it would be considered along with joint resolutions and other things that have been referred through rules for future study.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Barker.
And also, please be cognizant of the fact that if you need a little bit of money to be able to hire a consultant to help you in this, to accommodate all that from both judiciary and from these bills here, let us know and we'll see what we can do. So.
Appreciate that. To be candid, I think at this point, we're fully booked for this year, and it's really more of a staffing and kind of just bandwidth issue. But I think to the extent that there would be that, we appreciate that. Could certainly circle back at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Good. So we have the motion in front of us.
Yeah.
And it's been seconded. Please record your vote.
Madam Chair, it's to continue with a letter?
Yes.
Yes.
I-16, no zero.
I-16, no zero. The bills are continued. The bill is continued. Okay. Do you have another one,
I
Senator
do, Madam
Morrissey?
Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee, the next bill is SB 203, which would add Petersburg to the list of eligible host cities for casino in the Commonwealth of Virginia. As everybody in this room knows, the initial legislation created 5 host cities. The first thing that I want to say is this would not add a 6th city. It would be only 5 cities. A couple of points that I'd like to share with you. Petersburg is a city about 25 miles south of here, an iconic American city that is a destination spot for people that want to see some historical venues. It has absolutely gorgeous architecture. And what a lot of people don't know is that this city has more exits into the city than any other city.
Senator Morrissey, we really have a lot of bills.
All right. Let me move on.
A lot of bills.
One of the things that I did,
We love
Madam-
Petersburg, but we have a lot of bills.
I get a little enthusiastic when I talk about it.
Okay.
Madam Chair, earlier on this summer, when I spoke with Senator Barker, one of the things that I was encouraged to do is to talk to the contiguous counties and cities. And I will be very brief, but the almost per location counties like Surrey and Sussex, Dinwiddie, Prince George, Hopewell have expressed overwhelming support for Petersburg. They are glowing in their request that Petersburg get this. If you look at the legislation, you're going to see the legislation that was initially created is, this casino is actually earmarked for a city like Petersburg. When you look at the legislation created, they considered population decreases, unemployment, annual poverty rate, and a diminished population. They're talking about Petersburg, not the city of Richmond that recently failed in a referendum. Another issue that came up is, what did the group that advised JLARC say? I spoke with Michael Solom, the president of the Innovation Group, which is a national consulting firm, and I asked him about the projected revenues, the likeliness of success, and the economic impact for Petersburg, and he says it would be almost exactly the same as Richmond. So we have in the audience several members from several leaders in Petersburg. I'm asking that the Finance Committees consider the 15-0 vote. This came out of general laws, and I will try to answer any questions that the panel or you, Madam Chair, have.
Would the leaders from Petersburg please stand so we can see who you are? Thank you for coming and showing your support. Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Morrissey?
Senator Morrissey, can you elaborate a little bit on the financial consultant that you had talked with there, and whether the information that is available would be sufficient to be able to move forward with this, given what we did with the other 5 cities that, where
Certainly.
they had detailed analyses done there, so.
The national consulting firm that JLARC already used was the Innovation Group. Its president is Michael Salm. I was encouraged to reach out to him to find out what the projections were for Petersburg, and his exact words were that he was hired by JLARC to project the revenues, the likeliness of success, and the economic impact, and for the 5 cities. Although they didn't consider Petersburg separately, they said that the likeliness of success and the economic impact and the projected revenues would be almost identical for Petersburg than it would be for Richmond. One thing that I think is important to note is that we're looking for cities that need uplifting. And almost in this existing legislation, they talked about cities that have lost population. That's not Richmond. Because the reason I'm saying that, it's either Richmond or it's Petersburg. And in the last 5 years, Richmond has added 22,000 people. It's not, the other cities have lost it. And if you look around and the skyline for Richmond, you see cranes, 4 or 5 cranes. You see wildly successful development in Shockoe Bottom and Scott's Addition in Manchester. It's not the same way in the other 5 cities that we considered, but it actually is earmarked and targeted for a city like Petersburg.
Senator Barker.
Madam Chair, it would seem to me that it would make sense to, if we're going to go forward in considering this, to be able to get the assessment more complete, through the JLARC, as they did with the other 5 applications that came forward, and to have that be a contingency that we would put in place in this situation. So, how long do you think it would take to be able to get that assessment done?
Trying to listen carefully, Senator Barker, I think you said it would be helpful to have a more concise report from the Innovation Group?
Yeah, through JLARC, and have JLARC work with them on that. So if that's the group that worked with them on the others, that's.
I don't want to guess, but I would say this. The Innovation Group, which was hired by JLARC, no longer works for JLARC, but actually Senator McClellan asked me to consider that, and that's what prompted me to reach out to them.
Right.
What I've just shared with you today, I could probably get a letter and a thorough letter from them where they speak about the prospect for success in Petersburg, and I would hope that perhaps I could do it within 7 days.
Madam Chair?
Senator Peterson.
I'm just looking at the existing statute. Senator, if we left it alone, I mean, we're all familiar with the fact that the referendum for Richmond, City of Richmond failed. If we didn't amend the statute, what happens with that placeholder for Richmond? I mean, does it go away? Are we now down to 4 casinos? What would happen, or is Petersburg effectively filling that slot?
The latter, because what Richmond would do was hold another referendum in November. And then if they failed there, they will hold another referendum next year and the year after.
Is there any limitation on the number of referendums that Richmond?
In my legislation, there is. My legislation states that after a city held a referendum, they could not hold another one for 5 years, not at all unlike the situation when we have meals tax.
Right.
And if a referendum fails, you can't hold another one for 5 years.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator McClellan.
Senator Morrissey, under your bill, theoretically, if the city of Richmond in 5 years had a referendum and wanted to do a casino, there could be two in the region. In your discussions, did you ask for an analysis of whether Central Virginia could sustain two casinos?
I wouldn't do that because I think you're saying another casino, one in Richmond and one in Petersburg. I wouldn't do that because I don't think the Commonwealth could sustain two casinos within 25 miles of each other.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator McClellan.
Well, we have that now about to happen in Hampton Roads with Portsmouth and Norfolk. And I believe, and it's been a while since I read it, but I believe as part of the JLARC analysis, they looked at in determining whether Portsmouth and Norfolk each could sustain a casino. I think they looked at whether the region could sustain two. And if I'm wrong about that, someone please correct me.
You know, you all are much more experienced than I, and I cannot say right now that the area would sustain two. But I do know this. When this legislation was considered, the goal, the desire was to give a casino to a city or cities that were economically disadvantaged. And there was, right now, if there was a casino that was put in Richmond, it would add 3 to 4% to its general revenue budget. If you did it to Petersburg, it would be 30%. If you look at what happened in Bristol and in Franklin City, or Franklin County, you would find, Franklin City, you would see that people were leaving that area, that it was economically depressed, that the poverty rate was at a certain percentage, the unemployment rate was high. That's not Richmond. And if there's anybody in this room that I think is qualified to comment or opine on the differences between Richmond and Petersburg would be me, that represents both. I campaigned very hard for that referendum, that casino in South Richmond. But the electorate said no. And if we respect democracy and we respect the vote, then it's time to move on. Otherwise, then we simply say we're not going to respect that vote. I'm sorry that Richmond didn't get it, but when they didn't, the lack of a more artful phrase, the next man up is Petersburg. And I might say—
Senator, I'm sorry, but we've got like 15 other senators waiting,
Just
so
trying to
we've got to
answer a
move
question.
that. You did answer a question. Okay, is there a motion on Senate Bill 203?
I'll move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please record your vote.
Ayes 7, noes 9.
Ayes 7, noes 9. The bill fails to report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Stanley. And then Senator Bill, and then Senator Hackworth.
My legs asleep. Good morning, Madam Chair. Isn't it morning yet? Are we there?
Hello.
Madam Chair, I will talk as fast as possible so that you can make a decision, and hopefully we can get through this. You've got a large docket. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 604 amends the animal cruelty statutes in terms of the definition of what is considered a companion animal. It clarifies that cats and dogs that are in possession of a person or an entity that breeds dogs or cats for sale or transfer to animal research facilities are considered companion animals for the purpose of the cruelty statute. Madam Chair, members of the committee, as you may see, we have had some incidents which Peter recorded and others have been found by the USDA, which if I had committed those acts against my beautiful dogs, I would be charged with and or convicted of animal cruelty. I don't believe location should prevent someone who intentionally abuses a companion animal like a beagle or a dog is or a cat is should escape the ability to escape the jaws of justice when it comes to being held accountable for what would amount to a criminal action outside the fence. This also has a reenactment clause, Madam Chair, because in my consultation with Senator Marsden on these issues, who has been with me on this, on trying to find solutions to this issue, we believe that sometimes, just like in horse racing, you got to show the horse the whip to get him to move. And this is what that does, and that's why the reenactment clause would not make this come into effect or unless we did it again if we found that the bad behaviors that were going on are happening again. And that's the bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you. You would mention a beagle and bring to my heart my maestro.
Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm a Beagle fan, as you may know. I have a couple. And they are the greatest dogs ever put on
Yes,
this
they
planet.
are.
I mean, they are. Well, you and I could talk about this all night, couldn't we? But you guys got other bills.
Okay, is there,
Move to report. Second.
it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 604.
Madam Chair, to be consistent with what we've done, otherwise, do we need to put the clause on this bill?
That's probably a good idea. Yes.
So I'd have substitute motion, we put the clause on.
Madam Chair, claws mean different things to you and I when we talk about beagles than this bill.
It's true. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the
Come on, it's getting late.
clause be added. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, so,
I think my question's the same. If it's got a reenactment clause on it, why do we need the clause? Because it's not going to go into effect, right? So.
True.
Madam Chair, Senator Newman, when Katie asked the, I'll let you, Katie, go ahead.
Yes, the Sentencing Commission said they do, even though things are subject to reenactment, the Woodrum would still apply in a year from the effect they assumed was going to affect the Woodrum would be at fiscal year 2024 for the Senate Commission.
Wow. I mean, that's weird, but.
Okay. Learn something every year.
I don't know that we have to do weird, but okay. That doesn't make sense.
That's another committee altogether, isn't there?
Okay, so the
weird-
motion is to put the clause on.
That's right. The motion has been made and seconded.
It's been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. No. One no. The bill is now before us.
Move to report as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 604 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Ruff for Norman.
That's hilarious. Rough. Get it? Rough.
He's left the bill.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Members of the
you.
committee. Have a great
Next.
evening.
Actually, not likely. Senator Bell, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think 394 is the first one.
Senate Bill 394.
I'm going to do several bills that actually were outputs of the Charitable Gaming Bipartisan Bicameral Commission we did this past summer. And part of these recommendations were either from that commission or from the OISG report on charitable gaming to try to frankly clean that up. We discovered quite a few problems. SB 394 has no fiscal impact. There was, according to the FIS, no budget amendment necessary. What it does is provides that Department of Agriculture or Consumer Services, where charitable gaming is regulated, would have to have a registration of people who are landlords. We've had some instances where there was no transparency there and they were charging above market rates for charities. And this would put some transparency, and we'd also know where these operations are taking place, where charitable gaming is conducted. And then the second one, which I think might be more important, sorry.
I was just going to say, this has no fiscal impact.
Move the report. Yep, okay,
been
there we go.
Moved and seconded that the bill be, that 394 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero. Abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, no zero, abstention 1. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for protecting me from myself. SB 399, I think, is next. This
Okay.
one has,
SB 399.
yeah, no budget amendment was necessary in the FIS. Preliminary fiscal impact basically just said that this would establish as a new penalty if people do run charitable gaming operations without first obtaining a permit to do so. It was indeterminate, depending on the number of infractions, which weren't predicted in here. Again, this is the idea, we want to make sure we know where these charitable gaming operations are going on and that they're actually registered.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, it looks to me
Yes.
like it's fiscal impacts indeterminate positive.
Positive,
I'd move
yes.
the report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 399 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 401 is next.
Okay.
And I don't know, I understand there's an amendment on this, a substitute. Did you all get that? No?
Senator, Madam Chair and Senator Bell, there was a substitute adopted in general laws, but not for this committee.
Okay. I think there will be one other change on this one. This one establishes an illegal gaming enforcement coordinator. The way the bill had it drafted, it would be in the lottery area. They've come to me and said they'd prefer to be in state police, so we're going to actually amend that, move it over. They're going to get me amendments to do that. Before it would be voted on the floor, we'll put that in there. It wouldn't change the cost. They just felt like the enforcement would be better in the state police. I agree with that, and they're doing the same thing on the companion bill in the House. The other thing we did amend in the committee, the way that the revenue would be collected. We believe actually the revenue projections on here are actually a little bit low. No offense to whoever did the projection, because we know there's illegal operations going and we're not collecting revenue we should be collecting now. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But we believe this is a very important one.
Are there any questions for Senator Bell? Okay. Is there a motion on this bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 401 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Bill's reported.
And the last one I have is 463.
Senate Bill 463.
This is one that is a bill that I know we have seen many times in the General Assembly. It's prohibits personal use of campaign funds. We have really slimmed this down to the most egregious items, and I think Senator Eben might have an amendment on this. Back in the FEC. If you do not, we'll do it on the floor.
I didn't prepare it, but we talked about doing something on the floor.
This would be, we had taken out, following the FEC guidance when this was developed, we were, which would be basically helping them develop this. We could put that back on, but frankly, I don't think that's relevant to the cost portion of the bill. The fiscal impact, basically, no budget amendment. Our budget amendment was submitted on this. And since it would require Department of Elections and State Board to field and evaluate complaints from voters, there could be a cost there. I will tell you, though, we tried to limit this. Complaints have to come from someone who could vote for the person or who gave money to the person. There's also pretty good clauses in here. If someone does make a complaint, during the complaint period, candidates notified immediately. If they either pay back or return the item, complaint is closed. That's before the investigation's finished. So we tried to put some protections on that. I will tell you, as I presented in the last committee, we've slimmed this down. This isn't a perfect bill. It's a step, I believe, in the right direction to establish the most egregious things as illegal. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there questions? Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 463 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2. The bill is reported.
I thank the committee.
Thank you. Next in queue is Senator Hackworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is Senate Bill number 120.
Senate Bill 120.
And it is the Section 1 bill to identify the volume, number of waste coal piles, and I think the committee has a substitute they want to add to that. Jason?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is.
The substitute would add a second paragraph that would direct the Department of Energy, Department of DEQ, and Virginia Department of Transportation Research Council to convene a working group looking at opportunities to use coal ash residuals for construction purposes. Same group, similar topic.
Is there a motion on the substitute?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The substitute's adopted. Is there a motion on the bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 120 be reported. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 14, no zero, abstentions 1.
Ayes 14, no zero, abstention 1. Bill's reported. Thank you, Senator Hackworth. Senator Lewis, to be followed by Senator Servell.
Yes, excuse me, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I have Senate Bill 499, and there is a substitute, amendment in nature of substitute, Madam Chair.
Okay, Senate Bill 499. And is there a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Substitute's adopted.
So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, what 499 and the substitute for 499 does is direct the State Corporation Commission to create a task force to study the life cycle of battery storage and solar projects in the Commonwealth. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and for planning purposes going ahead, it's important to have this information. There are 97 square miles today of utility-scale solar in the Commonwealth, with more and more likely to come. So what this bill does is ask the State Corporation Commission in consultation with the Department of Energy and with DEQ to analyze the life cycle of these solar and battery storage facilities, their feasibility costs, recycling and salvage opportunities, what happens to the stuff at the end of the life cycle when it's, if and when it's decommissioned, the impacts of underground infrastructure after decommissioning, and the potential impacts of the life cycle on farming, forestry, and sensitive wetlands. At the request of industry, the substitute has added number 4, which also will ask them to examine the potential economic benefits and impacts of solar, wind, and battery storage development. And they're to report back by May 1st of 2023, Madam Chair. And so that is the bill.
Are there any questions?
Madam
for the
Chair.
patron? Yes.
With the, Senator Lewis, the fiscal impact says $50,000 to $100,000. Do you have a budget amendment for that amount?
I don't even have a fiscal impact. You're ahead of me, Senator Dietz.
Well, then what I would suggest is we put the fiscal contingency clause on the bill.
Okay.
If we're going to report it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, wait a minute. It's been clarified for me by Mr. Lurch. So the original bill had it going to a different place. This is going to SCC. I think the fiscal probably speaks to the original bill.
Not general fund?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, and the State Corporation does have, I believe, some general fund for the health insurance program, but we believe that the minimum cost of this would be. Okay. I withdraw.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so is there a motion to report the bill?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator Locke for Saslow.
Thank you,
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes
Thank you, Madam Chair.
15,
Thank
no
you,
zero. Bill's reported. Senator Servell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure how many of mine you got left that got taken care of during sub, but my first one was Senate Bill 249. That was Senator Lucas sub. Did that take care of that?
Yeah, it might just be here. 348.
Oh, okay, I got 3 left. Okay. 348, that's a bill that has to do with
Senate Bill 348.
bringing our child support statutes up to federal standards. I don't believe there's any fiscal impact. If we pass it, if we don't pass it, there's a $75 million impact. Yes.
Okay, are there any questions for Senator Serville? Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 348 be reported to save us a lot of money.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 352, has to do with studying multifamily housing to make sure that our inspection systems are adequate. We don't have a condo collapse like we did in Florida or the one we had in right below Alexandria in my district. And I have a budget amendment in for $200,000 for it, but the FISC came back as zero. But that's basically what it does.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I also have an
No,
amendment. There was an
this is a
amendment
different-
Depot requested. Oh, I'm sorry, you're on sick leave?
Yeah.
Okay, I jumped ahead to 740, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, 352 has to do with sick leave for grocery store workers and healthcare workers, and has an $800,000 FIS, and I put in a budget amendment for this as well. But the original bill had a $15 million impact, but I took out the big chunk of it, so it should be an $800,000 impact now. But it's basically mandates sick leave for grocery store workers and healthcare workers.
That's not the fiscal impact that I have. Could staff,
It originally had agency-directed healthcare workers in it, and that was like 15 million of 15.8 million, and I took that out in committee.
but now we are getting about 2.2 million a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Adam, or
Mine.
There's actually
Mike.
two components. So the Medicaid piece that the original bill did remove the agency directed, but since it removes the 20-hour limit, there's still an impact on consumer directed. Now all consumer directed individuals will be covered. That's about $700,000 over the first year, $800,000 in the second year, and Adam stopped the other part.
Adam.
Madam Chair, the fiscal impact statement indicated a cost to DOC as well for their medical staff.
So what is our total?
Oh, yeah, it might be, they might be right. It might be, I might have left out the DOC piece, which is 1.5 million.
Madam Chair, it's
Yes.
2.2 million in '23 and 2.3 million in '24.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Senator Marsden.
Thank you.
And then Senator Deves.
Senator Serville, could you refresh my memory as to how we dealt with the grocery store workers in the stores where they sold other products like Walmart
Right.
and what have you?
Yeah, that doesn't relate to the fiscal impact at all, but we directed the Department of Labor and Industry to come up with guidance so that the stores would understand how to structure or who to pay.
Okay, for the committee's information, that, you know, it's a situation where you go into a Walmart, you know, you buy the groceries, but you go to a place where people are also checking out hammers and nails and things like that. It's just kind of, it's all mixed in, and if it's a grocery worker, but the Department of Labor is going to look into guidance on how we handle that, is my understanding then from the Senator.
Madam Chair, given the large amount of the fiscal impact, does it make sense here to put the clause on this bill?
Yes, it does.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause be added to Senate Bill 352. All in favor of adding the clause, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, clause is added. Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 352 be reported. Please record your vote.
Senator Deeds? Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill's reported.
Thank you. And the last one is 740, which is the one I previously described, which is the multifamily housing study to make sure the condos and apartments don't fall down and kill a bunch of people. And DPOR, I'm sorry, I have a line amendment for that DPOR requested just to clean it up.
Okay, is there, it's been moved, the line amendment has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the line amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thanks. And Depot said, I think they said they could do it within existing resources, but I did have a budget amendment in for 200,000 for a consultant if that was necessary.
Okay. Is there a motion on Senate Bill 740? It's been moved that Senate Bill 740 be reported. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. All, please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2. The bill is reported.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Senator Cosgrove had a bill, the number of which I don't, let's see.
719?
719, he had to go home this afternoon, but I believe this may not be the same one. Okay. This
Yes.
is not the one I
He
said.
also
I'm
has
helping.
653.
653. That was just, needed an amendment to make it consistent with the sunset that we usually do, so if we could have a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
Yeah.
It's,
653.
okay.
Fair thing.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjust the sunset. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That amendment's adopted. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 653 be reported. Please record your vote. Now he has
Ayes 15, no 0.
ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Yeah, would you do the next one? I'm sorry. I had not talked to him about this one.
Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 719, has to do with authorizing the Department of Military Affairs during a declared state of emergency that activated the National Guard, Virginia National Guard of the Virginia Defense Force, to pay the employer's share of health insurance premiums for any service member who has served under that activation for at least 14 days, provided that there's a number of things that it provides. But the reason that it's here is that there's a $500,000 impact, which I believe is included in the budget as introduced.
It's in the introduced budget, okay. Is there a motion on 719? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Boysko.
You all are troopers tonight. I have two bills. I'll start with the highway use 612, SB 612.
SB 612.
So this is an administration bill, and the fiscal impact is $108,118, would allow the agency to accomplish the workload for scheduling the DMV employees. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. If you need me to tell you about the bill, I'm happy to, but I don't want to waste your time.
Are there questions?
Highway use fee, mileage-based user fee program, it's just clarifications.
Are there?
The money for, Madam Chair, the
Questions?
money for this is in the introduced budget?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, the Department of Motor Vehicles indicates that it can absorb the cost, but it does have a cost. The total of the transportation DMV related bills that were re-referred over here is around $1 million.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 612 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second bill is SB 451, sales, use, and tax exemptions for essential hygiene products, and it also incorporates the grocery tax. I believe the way we are looking at this point, following what Governor Northam's, the introduced budget is $159.8 million in fiscal year 2023, $394.8 million in 2024, would eliminate the 1.5% sales tax on food beginning January 1st, 2023, and $875,000 in general funds reduction for each year to fully exempt the menstrual products only from the sales tax. The net general fund revenue reduction necessary in the budget would be about $800,000 in fiscal year 2023 and $3.3 million in 2024. And I know staff is able to answer specific questions if you have them.
Okay, previously, we adopted a committee substitute, but there's a more recent,
correct,
new, better improved committee substitute. So if we could reconsider.
Yeah, I make a motion to reconsider the adoption of the substitute when.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we reconsider the adoption of the committee substitute. All in favor of reconsidering, please vote aye.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. We will now reconsider the first committee substitute.
Yeah, and with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move the adoption of the previous substitute.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the motion is to adopt the previous substitute. Please record your vote. Oh, that's verbal, sorry. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. Nay.
Nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. Okay.
And Madam Chair.
Now.
Motion to adopt the new substitute. So.
Okay, there is a motion.
Second.
And a second to adopt the new substitute to Senate Bill 451. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the new substitute is adopted.
So let me ask a question.
Certainly.
So the cost is $6.2 million in FY '23.
Let's have staff describe the new, no. It's all, oh, yeah.
Madam Chair, Senator Sasslaw, the total elimination costs for the groceries and the personal hygiene products, the general fund reduction is $107 million in the first year and $265 million in the second year. However, because Governor Northam introduced it in his budget, the net reduction necessary in that budget is only $800,000 in the first year and $3.3 million in the second year.
Senator Sasslaw.
The 160-some million, that's not just for hygiene products. That's
No.
total.
Right.
It's total.
Madam Chair, Senator Sasslaw, that's correct. It includes the groceries and the personal hygiene.
That's a lot
Okay. Are there further questions?
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
Yes, Senator Peterson.
Yeah, Madam Chair, when we discussed this a few days ago, one of my questions was the per pupil, or what I guess colloquially called the ADM funding for education, and how that's going to be wrapped back in to the budget. So maybe Senator Barker can tell me how that works.
Sure. The way that works is it will be baked into this bill. The substitute is here, so that the formula is there, and it's not ADM. And what it is, it's based upon school-age childcare. I mean, school-age children. School-age children.
School-age children, so even if they're not in the system.
Right.
School-age population.
School-age population. And is it in a code section as opposed to budget language?
Yeah, it's been in the budget for years, and I think it's in section part 3 of the budget. So,
Lisa.
That's good.
You're,
We got it.
yeah. All right.
Just don't call me late for dinner. Okay.
Just to be clear, Madam
So
Chair.
sorry, I'm tired.
You're good.
Madam
Good.
Chair, there is language in the substitute on line 185 to 187, which is within the grocery tax section of the code, and it specifically says that an amount equal to the revenue that would have been distributed pursuant to Clause 2 of subsection A, which was the old education distribution, shall be distributed as provided in subsections B, C, and D of 581638 based on the estimates of the population of cities and counties ages 5 to 19, which is exactly the language.
That's the 1 1/8.
Yeah, and that's exactly the language that we use for the
Okay.
current
I
distribution.
trust you, Lisa. I don't trust everyone in this building, but I trust you. Okay.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Newman.
First, I just want to thank everyone who's worked on this. I know that Senator Peterson and others, but the great news is about the work that we put into it means that if a penny goes to Lynchburg or Fairfax, a penny goes back to Lynchburg, goes back to Fairfax. That's the right way to do it. I think that that really is helpful, and I think combining the two is helpful. Madam Chair, I move the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 451 be, I lost the word, reported, thank you.
Sounds like.
Oh, please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2, the bill is reported.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. Senator Hashmi.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Committee. This is SB 667.
SB 667.
And it's the Innovative Internship Program. This is a program that's coming out of a recommendation by the Council of Presidents, and it is to establish a partnership with the State Council of Higher Education and our Office of Education Economics to establish work-based learning opportunities and to ensure that there's ways in which our college students at our four-year institutions are able to engage in internship programs, apprenticeship programs that lead directly to jobs. It's my understanding that there is no fiscal impact to this particular item. Is that correct?
Okay. Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, our report from Chev indicates that this is included in their current plans for next year.
Okay, thank you. So is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 667 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Thank you,
Thank you,
Senator.
Madam Chair.
Thank you for waiting. Senator Suderline?
He's come and gone, right?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got two bills for you. The first one is Senate Bill 146.
Senate Bill 146.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe that our Finance Committee has a substitute.
Is there a motion to adopt the substitute? It's moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the substitute is the executive branch believes that that's the best way to achieve what we're trying to do here, but the substance is identical to what you reviewed before this meeting and what we passed out of the Agriculture Committee on unanimous vote, which is to make it so that we will not require our restaurants to have someone on site the entire time they're open that is a certified food protection manager. This bill came to me at the request of the owner of Texas Tavern in Roanoke, where Senator Edwards and I are very familiar, and most everyone that's run for statewide office has visited. It's open 364 days a year, 24 hours a day. It's a 10-stool restaurant, and having to have one person there at 3 a.m. that has passed this test is challenging. I also sense that initial conversation with Texas Tavern, I heard from other smaller venues about the challenges having it, especially in restaurants where the staff, English might not be their primary language, and having to take a lengthy test and having someone that has always been on there, and the test deals with lots of things that have nothing to do with their specific restaurant. So that's the bill. Hope it'll be a pleasure to report favorably.
Madam Chair?
Senator Abbott.
So just to be clear, though, the people on duty in the restaurant, there would still be someone who had some food certification. It's just not this particular certification, 24 hours a day?
Madam Chair, Senator Eben, a regulation came out over the last 18 months or so that changed it. So it would basically, we'd revert to where we were before. The new regulation required someone to be there every hour they were in operation, which for places like the Texas Tavern that operate year-round 24 hours a day is incredibly difficult to do.
I guess if I could just repeat the question. Are people,
Is there any kind of requirement that the people employed have any food certification on duty? In other words, if you have a McDonald's or something, is someone on each shift have any training in food certification or no?
It would revert to where we were about 18 months ago.
I don't know
So
where
I
we were
believe
18
that's the case, and I can assure you that McDonald's in any place that's that big has so many corporate policies as well. But it doesn't change anything
So
from
this
where
just
we were
takes us
18
where
months
we
ago.
were before.
Madam Chair, the substitute removes the fiscal impact.
I'm sorry.
The substitute removes the fiscal impact.
So you've been waiting all afternoon and there's no fiscal impact?
Well, I have another one too.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't think
there-
has a fiscal impact either, but you know.
It's been moved and seconded to substitute the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill's reported. Okay, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The other bill for your consideration is Senate Bill 4. This is an important bill to restore checks and balances here in the Commonwealth. When we adjourn, hopefully on our scheduled date in March, if the governor, a few days after that, issues an emergency order, that emergency order will be in effect.
Madam Chair, can I make a motion?
Let him describe the bill.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think Senator Peterson does a better job than me often in being more concise. But so what that motion or the emergency order would stay in effect till June 30th of the next year.
Right.
So
Okay.
that'd be pretty long. This bill would make it so that it would only be in effect 45 days if we did not intervene, with the idea being that an emergency is an emergency, not something that goes on for long duration. This is similar to the law in the vast majority of our sister states and the District of Columbia.
Okay, thank you. Senator Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll simply say, under Title 44, emergency is defined as a period of time when the legislature cannot be called into session. I asked the Supreme Court to define that. They chose not to do that in the summer of 2020. I think Senator Suderline has hit a good period of time, which is 45 days, when we could be called back and can place our imprimatur on whatever policies are implemented. So I would support this bill.
Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 4 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill's reported.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Senator Favola.
I'm last. I hope you
Oh,
haven't
no,
spent
yeah,
all your
You're
money.
just last of the non-members. We have another 50 bills.
Okay, I'll be very quick. I would ask you to turn your attention to Senate Bill 624. And this deals with paid sick days for agency-directed home care workers. It is exactly parallel to the bill we adopted last year and funded, which was consumer-directed consumer-directed home care workers. These are our most vulnerable citizens. They require somebody to come into their home to help them with their daily living skills, and they really do need, these workers really do need paid sick days. The bill would cover up to 5 days maximum for a year. And there is a fiscal impact, which I'm sure you're aware. Part of it is general fund, part of it is non-general fund, because these would be folks who are paid by an agency who receives Medicaid. So in our reimbursement to our agencies, the Medicaid reimbursement, as you know, is higher than it is in other instances.
Madam Chair, I'd move we put the clause on this bill.
Okay, there's a motion to put the clause on. Okay, sorry. There's a motion to put the clause on the bill. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 624 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2. Bills reported. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, now I believe we've done all the non-member bills.
Madam Chair,
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be Richard Stewart,
Okay, Richard, go ahead.
a non-member. I have Senator Stewart's Senate Bill 567.
Senate Bill
And
567.
yes, this came unanimously out of committee. And essentially what it does is it creates a unique special permit. He worked with DEQ to come up with this permit, and it allows for certain discharge. And it is, I'll just give you the 1-minute backstory. He has one subdivision with a small golf course that has been pumping and hauling sewage for years. And in an effort to address this for them, he worked with DEQ to come up with this special permit, and that's what the bill does. So with that, I would move we report the bill.
It's been moved. Is there a second that the bill be reported? Are there questions? Okay, all in favor of reporting the bill, please record your vote. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported. Okay, now, does that complete our non-member?
Madam Chair, I believe it does.
Okay, so we will
That wasn't on the fly.
now go on to our own members, and we will just do it alphabetically, starting with Senator Barker. Senate Bill 346. We've done that one. Oh, good. 631.
All right, Senate Bill 631 deals with Fair Labor Standards Act and overtime issues. This is overtime policy. It really has been controlled at the federal level since the 1930s. What would have, last year there was legislation that was introduced in the House, came over to the Senate, and in describing what was in the bill, there was what was described as being in the bill was not actually what was in the bill in many instances. So what this does is this brings it back to a situation where we have a cause of action that can be pursued in state court as a result of having a Virginia Overtime Wage Act, and have the advantage of being able to get into court quicker than having to go to federal court, and also more likely that the plaintiff would be successful in challenging denial of overtime as a result of the standards that are applied in federal and state court. What it does, it brings it back to being consistent with the Federal Labor Standards Act, which has specific guidance as to related to overtime. There are some issues that have arisen in that we've encountered in addressing the issue this year. I don't have answers on all of them. What I have is a substitute that provides for a work group to be able to study this issue over the year. And I have been working with people on and trying to address one specific issue, particularly related to workers at airports. We don't have all that resolved yet, but if we get it done, we'll deal with it later there. And be happy to answer any questions anyone might have on that.
Are there questions?
Madam Chair, just briefly,
Senator Newman.
we're going to turn this into a study. I think that's fine,
Yes.
if that's what substitute is. I just
Well,
hope that
no,
if,
it changes what was passed last year.
Okay.
Takes it back to, makes it so that it's compatible
Right.
with the
Got it.
Federal Fair Labor Standards Act.
Madam Chair, that was
And then
my,
it has a study to sort of figure out how we move forward from there and deal with some of the issues that were in the bill last year and then issues that we've been discussing this year.
okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure that we, Madam Chair, did solve the problem from last year. So if we were going to study it, that's what I wanted to hear, so thank you.
Yes, Senator Evans.
So just to clarify, to study the pieces that other, outside of Fair Labor Standards Act, but then the portion about the airport workers, you're hoping to deal with that on the floor?
If we can get it resolved, that would be my objective here, so.
Okay,
yes,
thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Are there further questions? Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 631 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bills are reported. Next, Senator Deeds, you have Senate Bill 714.
Senate Bill 714 is very simple. It directs the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to incorporate a voluntary mental health check-in option into the crisis system. It's modeled after the Thomas Bloom Raskin Act, which was adopted in Maryland last year in honor of Congressman Raskin's son, who died about a year ago. It's a proactive measure that allows someone to voluntarily request periodic calls from trained counselors who work with the crisis line. This was supported by the administration in committee. It's got more of a fiscal impact than I expected. And I would, in all fairness, with the motions I've made on other bills, I would respectfully move that we put a cause on this bill if there's the appetite to report it.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause be put on the bill. All in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? I want to say no because he's so decent. It's been moved that the bill as amended be reported. Is there a second? Second. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Bill's reported. Next, Senator Evan, you have Senate Bill 282.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I have a substitute.
It's already been done.
Or I'm
Okay.
sorry, I meant 655. I'm in the wrong.
I'm sorry, I'm just going down.
282, we incorporated into Senator McClellan's
Okay.
bill.
How
And then-
about Senate Bill 288?
And I do have 655, though.
We've done that already?
Done.
Oh, this is great. Okay, Senate Bill 310.
That is reported now.
We've done that too.
I think I just have 655.
That's the only one you have left. Good. Okay, Senate Bill 655.
Okay, this has to do with the VEC and is consistent with two of the JLARC recommendations on how we can improve the VEC. It does two things. One is it requires that each employer would submit electronic information related to a claim electronically unless the employer has been granted a waiver from the commission. And then the second part, which is a change from how we originally had this in Commerce and Labor, is that the VEC would develop a plan to conduct a pilot program that would require a sample group of employers, only of employers that employ 15 or more, to proactively provide separation information that could be used by the claimant and the VEC, so there'd be clarity. And the commission would submit a plan on conducting the pilot to the Commission on Unemployment Compensation. Doesn't require the plan move forward without our approval.
Is there, thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second? And seconded to adopt the substitute. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Substitute's adopted.
And I would move to report unless there's questions.
I don't see any questions, so it's been moved and seconded that the Senate Bill 655 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Bill's reported.
Thank you.
Some of these we may have already done. I'm sorry, they haven't been cross-referenced yet. But how about Senate Bill 134, Senator Edwards?
Yeah, Senate Bill 134 would raise the age of the juvenile courts to 21, which it used to be for many, many years. There, as every parent knows, 19, 20-year-olds tend to be, take unwarranted risks. They're impulsive. They don't think of the consequences ahead of time, and subject to peer pressure. We also know from science that the judgment up here in the brain, we know exactly where it is, behind the subfrontal lobe up here somewhere. It does not mature to age 24 or 25. So we know that 19-year-olds, like every parent would know, is not the same as somebody's 28 years old or 29 years old. The military understands that as well. So that's what the bill does. And I could go on. We reduced the voting age to 18, and we reduced the drinking age to 18 and realized that was a huge mistake. And so that's back up to 21. So that kind of proves the point that young people of that age just are not mature, and they can better be handled by the juvenile court system. We have been working with the Supreme Court. There's a delayed effective date that would not go into effect to January 1, 2024, and also the conduct would not be involved until January 1, 2024. So whatever happened before in the General District Court or whatever would remain. We wouldn't get a resentencing or anything like that. So that's what the act does. There's some, I'm not sure what I don't have the figures as to what the fiscal impact is.
The fiscal impact, Senator, is 1.9 million one-time cost to set it up, but the impact would be up to $107 million annually.
Okay, well, it wouldn't go into effect in 2024, but I'd be happy to put the clause on so we can move forward on the case.
It's been moved and seconded the clause be put on Senate Bill 134. All in favor of putting the clause on, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The clause is now on. Is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill's reported. Senator Edwards, Senate Bill 136.
That was incorporated, Madam Chair.
That's already been done?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Okay, Senator Hanger, 591.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 591 deals with cannabis. Two elements to it, basically. The first one is it prohibits the use of gummies for cannabis products. It's been a real safety issue for children, these edibles shaped like humans, vehicles, animals, or fruit. The other issue, which has been very complicated to put in the bill, and categorizing certain products, hemp products primarily that are more than 0.3% THC in the same category as marijuana. This would include, previously we've had Delta 9 in that. Now the THC 8 products would also be included in that. Madam Chair, this has been scrutinized quite a bit, and while we were sitting here, David May from the Rehab Committee, who staffs that, discovered that we have a clause, an enactment clause that needs to be replicated within the bill at 3 different locations. So it required a substitute, which he drafted, which I can turn over to our staff here, and you'll probably have it on. You got it in your system? Oh, good, good. Well, I'll just read what the phrase is. It's technical, but we've had the experts from Department of Social Services and from the lab go over this with us. The technical phrase, could not contain a total tetrahydrocannabinol concentration that exceeds 0.3% at the time such industrial hemp extract is offered for sale at retail, and does not contain more than 0.25 milligrams of that same word per serving or more than 1 milligram per package. And that is duplicated 3 times throughout the bill.
Okay.
And so I would move that we adopt the substitute that put that technical amendment in place.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And Madam Chair,
opposed
the
that's
reason that
adopted?
it came here is that, look at the Woodrum Amendment. And if Senator Dees wasn't paying attention, I'd just get out of here without saying what he's going to say.
Just to be consistent.
Okay, all right.
I put one on my bill.
Okay. But I hope we can find $50,000,
I'm against
Madam
this.
Chair.
I'm against this. I'm a no vote.
I'll move the Woodrum amendment.
Shape of an animal.
I will move the
clause.
Finance contingency clause. I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded the clause be put on Senate Bill 591. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The clause is on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In all seriousness, this will be a fairly significant bill for safety for consumers out there that are not understanding they can eat a bowl of cereal and get high. So we need to be working.
And Madam Chair, this is an important bill. The reason we needed it in judiciary is because several years ago, we changed the definition of marijuana, and we had to get the Division of Forensic Sciences in to make sure that we weren't unintentionally messing up some of what we've already done. Because people right now can't test. There's no field test for the use of marijuana, but there may be one at some point. We needed to make sure the definitions all matched up, and I think they do.
Madam Chair, I would move that the substitute as amended be reported.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute as amended be, that Senate Bill 591 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill's reported. Next is Senate Bill 47, Senator Locke. I don't see her.
Madam Chair, that was
We've already done
reported.
it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Senator Lucas.
Okay. Then Senator Lucas, Senate Bill 634. No, sorry.
564?
564.
Yes, okay, Madam Chair, Senate Bill 564, sealing of offenses resulting in the deferred or dismissed disposition or conviction. It decreases the waiting period for an individual to be eligible for sealing of criminal records related to a misdemeanor from 7 years to 3 years and a felony from 10 years to 7 years. And it removes the lifetime cap of 2 petitions for sealing of criminal records. I think, Madam Chair, I think the issue here is that there was an indeterminable impact on the budget, and I think if we were to just change one section of that, I think it's one line amendment, and what that would do would be to remove the part that would include everybody in being able to take advantage of this, I guess you call it deferred. Yes. At least if you could finish that. So what I really want to do is just make sure that only the people who are indigent will be eligible, rather than everybody, so then that will significantly reduce the cost. Lisa, could you better explain that for me?
Yes, ma'am. The long and the short is, if you look at the draft, you're just going to unstrike the language on line 150 line through 152. And so this would leave the fees in place as they are in current law.
So Madam Chair, I'd like to move that. That language is stricken.
There's a motion to adopt the amendment.
Yes, ma'am. That's the motion.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment's agreed to.
Okay, now, Madam Chair, with that, that now all offenses will not be set aside as was originally set forth in the petition. It would only be those persons who are indigent for the expungement. And that's pretty much what that does. And so with that, I move approval. I move that it be recommended for reporting.
It's been moved that the bill be reported. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. Please record your vote. So we've done this.
Senator Newman, Senator Zaslow? Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1, the bill's reported. Next, Senator Marsden, we have Senate Bill 535.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 535 comes to us from the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, directs the state veterinarian at the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, VDACS, to employ an animal welfare oversight officer to provide on-site oversight of research breeder facilities. This is attempting to deal with the difficult situation at the Envigo facility in Cumberland County. The fee that VDOCS would be charging the organization would cover the cost of the oversight officer who would report to VDACS, the committee chairman of agricultures in both houses, and there would be a committee established, an advisory committee of veterinarian citizens and a member of the Humane Society to continue to provide this oversight, and that's what the bill does. It's covered.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 535 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Marsden, you have Senate Bill 708.
I do, Madam Chair. Thank you. This establishes the Driving Decarbonization Program and the Driving Decarbonization Fund administered by the Department of Energy to assist private developers with non-utility costs associated with the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. And essentially what it does is gives a 70% grant to charging stations installed in distressed areas and 50% in other areas. There's been a $5 billion appropriation by the federal government to support this, and it's going to be coming to all of our interstate highways, rural, urban, and we need to get this out to make sure that we can sell and attract electric vehicles to the Commonwealth of Virginia to be sold by our auto dealers. And that is essentially what the bill does. I have a budget amendment in for $20 million.
Madam Chair, setting up this
Senator
program
Dees.
and fund doesn't require us to fund it. Is that correct?
No, there's a budget amendment in. We'll have to make a separate decision on that, but there's
decision.
federal money coming in.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move report.
It's been
Second.
moved and seconded that Senate Bill 708 be reported. Please record your vote.
You are grumpy, man.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill's reported. Senator McClellan, I believe you have 475? We
Yes,
did that
it's-
one? Good.
But
I believe
can somebody,
Senator,
can you tell me one more time, or if somebody has it in writing, what J. Lark is studying? I believe you made an alternate motion to carry it over with a letter. We could give you the, Madam Chair, Senator McClellan, we could give you the previous substitute. Yes, I can write the letter, sure.
I mean, but the previous, the substitute is what the letter's gonna ask them to do. Okay, can I have a copy of it? Thank you.
Okay, we have, I think we're on our last bill, Senate Bill 378, Senator Peter, no?
We've got two.
Well, one was
Oh,
on
I've got 378. I know I've got that.
378.
What's 716?
Let's do 378.
Oh, broadband, okay. Let me do 378. This is the second look bill, Madam Chair. And I've got Sean Winetter from ACLU in the audience. And basically, I'm going to kind of do this extempore, but it has to do with having the opportunity to go back to the original sentencing judge once you've served a significant portion of your sentence. And, you know, we went through all sort of the charts and graphs in the, was this a substitute? No, this is the same one. Once you've served at least 10 years of a sentence, if you're 25 years or younger, or 15 years if you're 26 years and older, and you meet certain behavioral standards, such as being class level 1, not being convicted of a 100 serious disciplinary offense, or more than one 200 serious disciplinary offense, you will have basically an opportunity to go back to the sentencing judge and just basically, and there's a set of criteria here, but you'll have a chance to basically have a second look at your sentence. And Sean can speak to this personally. He was convicted of a crime. And Sean, how many years did you have?
30 years.
30. And he was for an embezzlement.
Correct.
And it's just, you know, it can be very arbitrary what sentence can be for long-term sentences. And oftentimes you have someone that's served the time. They've shown that they have rehabilitated. And at some point, you know, having the last 6, 8, 10 years of their sentence may not have the most social value of all time. So that's the point. Again, this is just to go back to the circuit court judge for a second look.
Madam Chair?
Senator Marsden.
This is somewhat similar to our blended sentencing law in Virginia, which allows a youth being sentenced as an adult to begin his sentence in the juvenile justice system and then receive I think it's 20 years, 6 months, although don't quote me on that. They go back to the circuit court for an opportunity for a reduction in sentence and what have you if the child has been performing well. So, and then he goes on to the Department of Corrections. So this is consistent with that kind of thinking, giving people who are doing well an additional chance at a resentence.
Right, and this is, it's broader. I know we've got sort of different parts of this, and we have the marijuana resentencing. This is broader, but anyways, this is an ambitious policy, and we had a pretty robust hearing in criminal subcommittee in courts of justice, and that's the bill.
Okay, is there a motion on it?
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 378 be reported. Please record your vote.
Yeah.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
I'm sorry. Ayes 13, noes 2. The bill's reported. And are we now on our last bill?
Madam Chair, we are
378?
716.
That was, so I'm sorry, 716, sorry.
Okay, 716 is the broadband bill, and I'm looking, and I do have it. I feel like the kid who just is looking at his homework for the first time. It's a bill that basically sets up a department. It's a Section 1 bill, which has the DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, to develop a plan to address broadband affordability and equity. And it's got a whole list of ways that we're going to look at how we distribute all the broadband money that we have, looking at Commonwealth of Broadband Digital Connectivity, recommendation on leveraging federal grants, best practices. I think we struck part 4, recommendations for how to use the $14 billion affordability connectivity program from the ARPA, which is the money that, of course, we allocated last summer. And that's basically it. It is a Section 1 bill to help us distribute all the broadband money we're sitting on, which is a lot.
Are there questions for Senator Peterson? Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 716 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero, the bill's reported. Does that now complete our docket?
Madam Chair, that completes the docket.
Our docket is complete, so the committee will rise, and thank you all.